Um, so summer one, I'm going to teach, what am I going to teach? Oh, roof framing. Now, I told you guys we'd do that. We traded that for this class because when in the end of fall semester, I was sure we would have the vaccines ready and done with by summer one. And as you know, we've had a problem with the vaccine rollout, but it's still, I'm going to get probably, I'm the one I'm worried about. I don't care about you guys. You guys are all pretty young and healthy and you have to worry about yourself. But I'm old and I don't want to get that nasty bug. So I'll probably get a vaccine in the next couple of weeks and then the second one in a couple of weeks after that. So I'll be way ahead of the game by May, end of May when summer one starts. And probably everybody will be able to get their vaccine by that time. So I think we will have, the president of the college hasn't said that we're going to have in-person classes in summer school, but I'm pretty sure we are. And the worst case would be we'd have select labs and we could stretch that pretty far and then do a few things online.
Are you going to be 4 days a week again, or?
What was one? Oh no, it wouldn't be one. Yeah, 124. Was that?
I think that was 4 days a week or something.
I'll have to look at it. Yeah.
3 or 4.
Yeah. And then summer two will be, Rodney's going to do 115. Now, we didn't have enough students for 115 this time. We'd schedule it for now. Now it's, and we don't know why, but it's a required class if you're taking a certificate or the AS degree. So if you haven't taken it, you should think about taking it. And as a matter of fact, this will be a homework assignment. Figure out what you want to do for the summer and fall. I'm going to talk about fall in a second. I don't care if you make your mind about that, but like be ready to, in fact, why don't you email me and say, I would like to take 113, CT113 framing summer one. And I would like, or I would like to take CT115 intermediate finish carpentry or cabinet making summer two. Then I don't have the fall schedule, but it should have 124, which is building performance, 110, which is Jim's beginning class, and 118, which is math for trade math. And in spring, we're probably going to do 122, 114, and 111.
That's the fall construction
yeah, the
math.
Fall, yeah, the fall is math, the trade math 118, 110 beginning carpentry, and 124 building performance. And that is only subject to change if Rodney doesn't fill his 115.
Rodney's got to fill that 115.
I know.
Yeah, I was kind of bummed that we weren't doing that this semester.
I was extremely unhappy. I already bought the book and everything. It's like 115 or something.
Oh, you got is it the 13th edition now?
No.
What are you talking about? Oh,
Modern Cabinetry. It's like
What?
115 bucks. That was the required book for the class.
What? That's books looks pretty awesome.
I haven't even opened it yet, but hopefully
it's a good book. Yeah, you can always, some of you get financial aid to help toward your books. Some of you get various ways. If you, always the case in our program, if you can't afford it, then talk to the instructor about other options. You know, we don't want anybody not taking the class because they can't afford the text. I have an old edition that may not be too old to use. It may be the same one, I don't know. We've got some floating around. So in emergencies, we'll help out, okay? But anyway, be thinking about what you want to do, because, you know, these times are different because not only the COVID, but the community college system's going through a kind of a financial downturn. This happens periodically. It's like a business cycle. And so they're only allowing us 3 classes usually. Mike said he might allow 4 in fall, but that makes us go behind because we need to offer 4 to offer all that we have. So summer, we try to make up for it. So,
Did you say that roof framing class is 4 days a week?
yeah, because summer, it's 6 weeks instead of 16 weeks.
So you meet Monday through Thursday, or?
Yeah, well, I haven't posted it yet.
I think last semester we had Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday or something, right? Is that what we
Last
had?
summer,
Yeah.
maybe for the 124, right?
Yeah, it was
Yeah, this is
weatherization class.
Yeah, this is the same because it's got a lab attached to it. Some of the classes like this one, blueprint reading and the math, are just 3 units total. Well, they're always 3 units to you, but the lab requires more hours for the teacher and more hours to attend. So even though it's still a 3-unit class, it has more attendee hours.
What's the layout for that class? Is it like 2 lectures, 2 labs, or?
For the roof framing?
Well, if it's 4 days a week, is it like, do you lecture 2 days and then hands-on lab 2 days, or?
Well, we could negotiate that. We need lab time to build we're going to be building roofs. But I do often do a short lecture before we go out into the patio to build the roofs. Like I'll prepare, your mindset for that. And possibly we could figure out a way to do that 1 or 2 times and then come out 2 times in person, so you weren't making the trip. Are some of you coming a ways for that? Well, if it was all in person, you'd have to come anyway, right?
I think some of us work. Like I work during the day, normal construction hours.
Yeah. But it would be the summer school class is still at night. I mean, evening, 6.
Oh, that's dope.
Yeah. But it's, when you take a 6-week class, a 16-week class and compress it into 6 weeks, you pay that price. And that's why we usually don't have a lot of summer school classes, but we're getting behind. And we also want you guys to get all your classes so you can get your degrees and get out of here at a reasonable time. So, it's a pandemic and it's a financial difficult time. So you're just gonna have to be patient, but I'm willing to negotiate the time. We have to have at least 2 labs, maybe 3. I'll have to think about it, and then you can think about it before summer 1 comes. We'll talk more.
What is there to do in roof framing other than labs?
Oh, you'd be surprised. The rafter design we do it all on paper first because
Oh.
the geometry. Yeah. So I think it would probably work okay with at least 1 lecture, and I have to think about 2. When we get closer to that time, I'll look at, the syllabus and see what makes sense, because since we can go as much as we want lab wise, I want to make the class of maximum benefit for you. Okay, so be thinking about that so we can plan. So let me ask you about the homework, the measuring exercise. So who was it? Jose Nunez. Is your
Yeah,
name
right.
Nunez or Nunez?
Nunez.
Nunez, okay.
Yeah.
Ever since we had that Representative Nunez from Fresno, where is he from? Fresno? He's Portuguese, so there's no tilt over it.
I see.
But we don't have tilts on this. The Canvas platforms, I mean, the Zoom platform's limited,
Yeah.
Okay, so Jose, you sent yours to me, right?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, that was great. And I didn't ask for it, and you just figured that was the best way to show me you did it, and I appreciate that. And I'm on the verge of making the rest of you do that. But first, let me see if you did it. How many got a chance to do that assignment? Maybe a show of hands. John. Okay, John, Jose. Oh, Jose, guy, he's got the hand, the what do you call it, hand? The virtual hand. Hey, John, question for you. Those blueprints you sent me, did you want me to do anything with those other than you're just sharing them with me?
No, I was just showing you the project.
Yeah, I've been really busy, but I want to look at them, so I will. I just didn't know if you needed any.
They're really poorly done, and they were copied off another project. This is a second set of plans the guy's ever done.
Yeah.
He had a bunch of problems with the project, but Donna is the inspector on it.
Oh no, really? Oh God. Haven't I told you about her?
So hey, but yeah. Wait. One second.
Hey, Donna. I think she's Donna.
Yeah.
So if you are inspecting any of my students' jobs or their friends, can I bribe you to be easy on them?
That's like illegal to ask me.
Hey Donna, when I worked in LA, West LA, Beverly Hills for a guy who remodeled Hamburger Hamlets. And one time we were meeting an inspector at a house, and we pulled up behind his car, and the inspector was out walking up, and my boss had a bottle of whiskey, and he walks over and he puts it in the inspector's car. And the inspector comes running down the aisle and says, "What are you doing? Get out of there, take that away." It was great. Real learning experience right there.
Yeah.
So you don't take bribes, huh? Okay. You like your job. I understand. I'm just kidding anyway. So Debbie, Captioner Debbie, I love that name. Debbie, I just was checking up on you. How are you? How are you doing? Okay, great. Thank you. And I'll try to remember to tell you more when I'm going to switch. I realize I didn't do that. I get carried away in the moment, so I'll try to be good. Okay. Okay, so let's see. Anybody new that I need to? Well, maybe those people that were didn't show up twice just didn't want to come. That's fine.
So sorry about that, Patrick. It was my father-in-law. He was stopping by to drop off some stuff. You don't want to avoid that one.
Oh, God. Okay, I think we're ready to start the lesson official. Oh, measuring exercises. So listen, I want you guys to do it. And it's written on the homework from last week, in case you forgot. I want you to do it. And I want you, if you have a camera, I want you to take a picture of it and send it to me on my email of the sheet where you did it. Remember, you're gonna draw 6 different lengths of line on your white sheet of paper. You're gonna use a different scale for each one, and you're gonna write down which scale you're using, and then you're gonna write down how long it measured. Okay? And that way I'll know that this is so important to be able to use these scales that I don't want to just assume you did it and have you guys shine it on and not learn it, okay? All right. So we're gonna do, talk about plot plans, then we're gonna take a break, and then we're gonna talk about floor plans. So let's go to the handout. We'll go over that real quick, and then we'll look at, we have quite a few plot plans on in our print collection here. So I'm gonna go to, what set was that, 4?
Yeah, 4.
Okay. Okay, can everybody see that? I forgot to
Nope.
tell, I did it again. I forgot to tell Debbie that we're going to a screen share, but we got time for her to set up. So features of plot plans. A plot plan, also called a site plan, is a view from above the property, so it shows the location on the building lot. And it says see figure 11.1, which is probably this one right here. And
It sure is easier to access them on Canvas instead of downloaded files.
yeah,
It makes it
Yeah.
a lot nicer.
so here's the, what you for sure have in every plot plan is the boundary line of the lot. And then you have the house situated on the lot. It's got setback minimums, all 4 directions. And we'll look at those up close. And then it's got the topography. This is on a little hilly patch here. And if we look close, we could tell if it's going up or down, probably going uphill. And we'll talk about elevations later. It's got a walkway, and this has, it tells you how to make it, gives the widths. But it doesn't tell you anything about the house except the shape of it. And usually it tells you the elevation of the main floor, the finished floor, occasionally subfloor elevation of the first floor. And we'll talk about why you need that a little later on. So this doesn't have, this was in a book, and they didn't capture the whole print, but on the right side of the print, as always, on every piece, there's that little guide, right? That's got the, it'll have the lot and block number and information, who drew it. We'll when we look at real plans, we'll look at that. It always gives a compass sign, and this is not the greatest one in our of our site plan. So I'll show you when we get to a real site plan. It's got a north arrow. Location of locks, fence, patios, easements, setbacks. It'll have the location of the utilities, gas, electric, water lines. It should have elevations at various locations. It has elevations on the site because if you have to grade it, say you're slightly changing the shape of that site, you'll have to know what those elevations are. It'll have the trees and shrubs that are there that to be retained. Okay. Now, it'll have a north arrow. So you can orient the house, and it might have a plan north. And what they show here, somewhere here it is. that's the north plan, true north, and then plan north is how many degrees off that is. Contour lines, read that on your own. We'll just look at, here's some contour lines. It shows the elevation. So if it goes from 102 to 103 to 104, that means it's going uphill, and then it starts going down again. So this house is on the top of a hill. There you have the finished floor elevation. We'll see more examples of that in a second. Sometimes the property line or some line that they're measuring off of in the plan will not be north and south. It's not always, in fact, it's probably rarely north and south. Although cities like to lay out their grids north and south, but so they might establish a line that's so many degrees off of that. Like say it's 20 degrees off and the house is lined up along this line. It's all several feet from this line. And they'll tell you what that instead of saying 20 degrees, this is the way to say 20 degrees on a direction guide, you know, north 20 degrees by east. And we'll look at that in a second, more about that. So topography is the lay of the land. And this is just a, you wouldn't see this on a house plan because it would have a house situated on it. This is just a kind of a drawing, a contour drawing in itself. But sometimes this one, obviously, there's a difference in elevation between contour lines. That's the whole idea. So this could be a pit that's going up, you know, a hole, or this could be a hill that's going down. So if the numbers of the particular contours are listed, they're going up. So you know this is a hole and it's going and it's higher around it. Also, sometimes they'll put a cross-section line and show what that looks like, you know, if you were to cut through the earth. And then it shows you it's definitely a hole, and it shows you how it's steep on one side, which you can tell when the lines are closer together, it's steeper. And then it's less grading on the right side. So that helps you to see that. This shows you the same contour lines can either go for a valley or a hill. That's pretty obvious, yeah? This is a grading sheet. This is a residential blueprint reading class. Our program is a residential construction. So we deal with sites that are city sites or you know, suburban sites, and they're usually lots that have already been contoured and they're fairly flat. You know, when you get toward the hills, obviously that changes, but much of our stock that we're going to look at will be in town. There won't be a lot of topographical changes and features. Sometimes I'll put a map with the existing grade in the dotted, and the solid line will show the new grade. So I don't know, they don't say why they want to change the grade, but for some reason they want to alter it slightly. That kind of map would look like that. These are typical lines on a site plan. I mean, a railroad track might go right by the home, right in back of it. We have homes certainly in Santa Barbara that are on Goleta that are near the tracks. Power lines, things like this. Again, when we look at the plans, they'll have their own keys to these things, and they'll look a little bit like this. So these things change over time. So the architects tend to put what they want you to know, which is usually current information. And so the keys, so you may have slightly, the lines will be kind of the same because we're trying to keep a standard over time, but some of these symbols may change a bit, and there may or may not be certain symbols. Any questions about that handout?
All of this is available on Canvas, right?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
On the left hand in the files section.
Okay, the other part of that, I don't think I could get in on Canvas until I'm enrolled, I think.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, that's why I sent everybody a Zoom link, because I knew you couldn't get on Canvas. And
Perfect. But once
Yeah.
once that's all taken care of, I'll be able to access that. So perfect.
yeah, well, yeah, it should be in the next few days. I don't know what's holding them up.
Okay.
So, yeah. Okay, I'm just looking over. Well, yeah, some of those students, like maybe Andrew just didn't want to take it, or is Dalen Jackson here? He's another one I have questions about. And then Wolfgram. Oh, well, they may have dropped. Okay. Now, a site plan is usually, well, I shouldn't say usually because I don't know these things, but from the plans I've seen, it's usually on a cover sheet, the first page of a set of plans. And we'll look at those. And I'll show you ones where the site plan doesn't take up a lot of that first sheet, and I'll show you what else is on there. And then I'll show you a set of our plans where it takes up mostly the sheet. So it depends on the extensiveness of the grading and any work done on the site. But like I said, if it's a lot, if you're just building on a city lot that's been there for 100 years, site plan is going to be very, it's almost going to look like a floor plan, just with a little bit of the yard included. Um, So the other thing to discuss as we're looking at site plans is the scale. So I think our original handout that talked about plans, gave an overview of plans, it might have said that a site plan is often in a 1/8 inch to a foot scale, which is true. We have one in our set that's 3/32 to an inch. And sometimes they're given in engineering scales where an inch equals 20 feet or an inch equals 40 feet. So I'll show you examples of all those. But the scale can't be your usual 1/4 of an inch to a foot or bigger because there's not enough room on a standard 2x3 print page to fit it. So they come down to at least an 1/8, 3/32, or sometimes they'll go on the engineering. They'll use an engineering scale because the surveying for the plot plan, it has a lot of surveying marks on it. It's done by a surveyor or an engineer, and they use the engineer scale. So it's kind of weird because most builders don't have engineer scales and crew leaders. So it's kind of weird, but I'll show you how we get around that. So let's look at a couple of examples of these. So let me get set up here. So I'm going, so Debbie, I'm going to the screen. Does everybody see this site plan?
Naturally.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So the Chumash tribe had some work done they've been building a lot in the last few years, and I got a hold of one of their sets. What I did is, any of you heard of Frank Skipper Construction? I used to belong to a trade organization. He and I were both on, and I was asking him if he had any prints, and he said, yeah, just come over and take all of my old prints, because they were trying to get rid of old prints. So I went over, and that's where I got most of our prints. So this is a cover page, and it's got, it doesn't even have a site plan on it. They kind of put the main people who do the consultants, the civil engineer, possibly the building department people, but also architects. They want you to know who drew the plans. They give some general notes usually. They may give abbreviations. On one of the handouts, I have abbreviations, and we should compare them to this page here and see if they're still current. But on the cover page, they'll also give a sheet index. So that'll tell you what all the sheets are called, how they're labeled, and how many there are. This one, remember we said that the cover sheet and site plan are often civil sheets. This one just calls it architectural 0, which means it's, it starts at 1, 2, 3. So it's like the pre-architecture architectural. So people do that. This cover page will always have a location map, so the inspector and subs and things can get to the site. So, you're coming along 101 and over the hill and 154. And then it might have a vicinity map if it's complicated. If you can't just get to it from the location map, they might have a even finer map. Might give some like project data, like the owner, San Ynez Band of Chumash Indians, blah, blah, blah. And then the next page, yes, sir.
In that project data,
Yes.
what is that state responsibility area? What is that? Do you know?
I don't know. Donna may know, but
It says yes, very high severity.
yeah. It may be an area that the state is overseeing because it may be an environmentally sensitive area. I think actually most of where the Chumash build is environmentally sensitive. Donna, do you have any idea what that is?
You're building on federal land.
Okay, there we go. I was going to say that, but it says state responsibility, but that's what that means. It's federal land. Okay. So is that because, Donna, it's a reservation?
Yeah, that falls
Okay.
under federal. This falls under state building codes, but you also have to respect federal because of it's a reservation.
Yeah. Okay. There you go, Alec.
Thanks.
Yeah. So the next page is a existing site plan. I'm not crazy about these plans. They're a little confusing, but this is one of they've got a series of site plans. So this is one. And again, we have property lines and topographical details of utility lines, trees, shrubs, things. I looked it over the other night and it wasn't very clear. And then so that's AO.1. So they're considering their civil plans AO, 0 architectural. This also, there's your north direction. Now, AO2 is point 2 is an existing floor and demolition. So this, we're not going to look at that now because it's a floor plan. We'll look at that later. But then they go back to another partial site plan. This is a new plan. So this shows you the way the new building is going to sit on the land. And it'll have setback information on the, on every side. And then another new partial site plan broken down in a floor plan. So this architect's not really, and then he's got A1, which was probably a floor plan designation. So this architect's not, yeah, see, here's A1. This was, no, I don't think he's being very consistent in how he labels it, but that's not important. I just wanted to let you know that they take a little bit of, they deviate from what we learned in the book. But the reason they have that international plan of designation is so it's obvious to everybody. And if architects keep monkeying around with it and making it so customized, then it defeats the purpose. So I'm not happy with these people who get too far. And then floor plan A2, and then elevation A3. So elevation is still an architectural plan. And of course the floor plan is. So we're keeping it in architecture. Let's just see where this goes and when they break out of. Okay, so here's now sections are also architectural. So I'm looking at these and schedules are architectural. So that goes with our setting, and details are architectural. So ADA is, he's just calling it out as its own designation. So I guess that's a thing. And then specifications can be architectural. Here they've got them under structural, S1. And let's see what this is. This is foundation. So that could be S2, structural. And then framing plans are structural also. So those will be S plans also. And then notice that some of these details, we saw some above that were architectural, and some of them that are more have to do with concrete or steel and not so much typical residential wall construction. Those he's classified under S, an S set of plans. So that's just one way that this can be done. I hope that doesn't confuse you all too much. So let's look at, oh, you know what? I wanted to look at, what was that, 4? No. That was the Shumash. Hold on. Let's see if we can find a scale. So here, the first site plan has a 30 seconds to an inch. Everybody see that?
Yeah.
So when you write scale, you write the fraction of an inch on your architectural scale, 30 seconds inch, that's an inch mark, it might be hard to see, equals 1 foot 0 inches. Sometimes they put a line through the 0 to distinguish it from an O. That's actually the way you should write scale. We abbreviate and say it's a 3/32 scale, which is fine if you're trying to locate it on your rule, but technically the scale should be this whole designation, 3/32 inch equals 1 foot 0 inch. Okay? And you'll see that pretty, let's see if, so here's floor plan under 1/4 inch, which is typical. Here's another site plan, which is 1/8 of an inch. So, and you can see that there's less room around the house. It's a larger scale than the 3/32. This site plan is also 1/8 inch. So they do go 1/8 inch, 3/32, and then we'll look at some that have an engineering scale. Let's see. Oh, let's try this Laguna Blanca.
I'm working there currently. That's funny.
Really? Who's that?
Duke I'm with Kenny Construction with concrete.
Oh yeah. Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So what are they doing? Are they building a new building there?
New building, a lot of walkways, and we did like a retaining wall also
Yeah.
that I've done personally.
Oh, great. So this is art and music building. You probably know where that is. You're in the Hope Ranch campus, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm not really familiar with what building is what though on the campus.
Yeah. Unless you go inside, it's probably going to be hard to tell.
Yeah.
Well, if you can read this, this will show you. It's not easy to read. This is the building we're looking at.
Okay.
You have to get close. If you got close, you could probably figure it out. But look at all the, is it on a hill? Is it above the campus, kind of hilly?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Now I can see it. Yep.
Okay. So this is the road that comes in the campus and then goes back. So it's at the back end of the campus, I guess.
Right.
Right? Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. They
Okay.
just did a new building right there. Yeah.
Okay. So this is the set for that. And again, the cover page has a lot of notes. Cover page is kind of, I mean, you need these legends and stuff to understand, but it's also kind of just a junk page where they put stuff to save room. They can't always find room in other places. This has a vicinity map, so you can get to, from 101, you can get to the school. And this is, okay, so let's zero in on this. So this is it's an overall site plan, and it's kind of just, well, it does give you contours, but it's kind of just to give you how all the buildings stand next to each other. But look at the scale. You see that? 1 inch equals 60 feet. It doesn't look like the 1/4 inch equals 1 foot 0 inch, right?
Right.
So an architect scale will always have equals 1 foot 0 inch. The right side of that equation on the architect scale will always be 1 foot 0 inch. The left side will be a fraction of an inch, whatever, quarter, eighth, 3/32. Engineering scale, it's a little different. It's 1 inch equals 60 feet, or 1 inch equals 40, 20, 40, 10, 20, 40, 60, like that. So all that means is 1 inch is 60 feet. So you could take, if you didn't have an engineer scale, you could take a regular ruler that's divided into inches, and if you measured an inch on that, that would be 60 feet. And if you measured a 1/2 inch, that would be 30 feet, and 1/4 inch on a regular ruler would be 15 feet. So you can use that to an extent and not have to have an engineer's scale. If you have an engineer scale, it's got all the little marks like we've been looking at in our architect scale, so you can get down to feet and sometimes inches, right? So, okay, so let's see. I think that's the only site plan. You get your floor plan, you're back to 1/4 inch equals 1 foot 0. Oh, let's see what they call these. Let me go down and so great. CT116.
Is that topography or however you say it, or is that
John, what's that?
is that topography, like a map of
Oh,
elevations
well,
like that?
I don't know, but that's a good guess.
I don't think I'm saying that right, but
No, but it's the only thing with a T I can think of. But on the other hand, you got all this other information, so it's more than just a topography. So I don't know. Now, see, this wasn't in on our handout. This is the first time I've seen a T. So unless maybe if we zeroed, oh yeah, title, it's the title page. sometimes they call it a cover sheet. Where am I? Yeah, here. Yeah, see title sheet. Title sheet site plan. Okay, so that's what T is. You know, I don't see that very often, but Donna, do you see a lot of blueprints?
Blueprints, plans.
Yeah, don't you look at them all day long?
Yep, part of my job.
Okay, so what do you see for, have you ever seen a T for title page designation? Do you recall? Okay, so some do that. Hey, Donna, you don't mind me calling on you for expertise, do you?
I'm gonna have to charge you for consulting fees.
Oh, God. All right.
You're
I'll pay you
responsible.
I'll pay you in fake coinage, okay? Okay, I'll keep it to a minimum then. So here we have A1 for a floor plan, which is typical, A1.1. I don't know why I mean, this may not be the whole set, obviously, although I thought it was. I don't know why they skip around so much, but an elevation is also architectural, so A3. A6 is a ceiling plan.
On that last page where it said west and east, is that facing, like, if you scroll up a little? Yeah, right there. Number 2 and 3, east, west, is that just?
Oh,
you're
right
facing-
here?
That's your view, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's your elevation. We'll talk about that when we do elevations.
Okay.
Yeah. It's looking in that direction. That's what you would see.
Looking north, that's the view, okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Gotcha.
we'll go over that. We do a whole lesson on elevations, which is coming up. It's like two or maybe 3 down the road. Ceiling plan. This is an art building studio, so it has a lot of non-residential typically features like reflected ceiling plan. So, you know, it's important that the light is good. I think it's a music studio too, but I guess even for musicians, you want to have the light just perfect. They have to read their sheets. They don't want to be blinded. And then artists obviously need the right light. So this is a pretty in-depth plan. And then of course it's a school building, so they have you know, the restrooms are really important for ADA and all different reasons in a school. So you have A7 still architectural because there's still floor plans there.
What is ADA?
Then we get into, I'm sorry, what?
What is ADA?
American, what is it? Anybody?
Americans with Disabilities Act.
Yes,
Oh,
thank you.
Okay, so all
Yeah.
the
Yeah, so you
accessibility.
can see the wheelchair symbol here.
I got you, okay.
So it has all, and you know, the height of things, like sinks have to be a certain height. And
Width-
they have to have
width of
room
walkway.
underneath. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So it's a public building, so that's pretty, you know, that's critical stuff. And then framing plans are structural, so that we're getting into the S plans. Now a section usually is an architectural plan, so they're including it in structural. And they probably justify it by saying there's a lot of the foundational concrete stuff, which foundation plans tend to be structural. So I'm just trying to get you to see that architects differ a little bit. This one here is a mechanical plan, an M. Even though it's got a section, which would be architectural, they've combined it. And it's mechanical is, I think this would probably be HVAC alone, although it could include electrical and plumbing. This has separate plumbing. In commercial, you see the most separation between mechanical just includes HVAC, and they'll separate out plumbing and electrical because the electrical and the plumbing are so extensive. You can imagine, you know, the plumbing with ADA and everything, it's in a school public building. So, and then then they've separated out electrical because the electrical is also, with all those lighting things, you can imagine what a nightmare the electrical plan is. Power and signal plan, they probably got a fire plan along here. a lighting plan. That's also electrical, fire alarm plan. Fires, in this case, even though it's electrified, it's got its own, he's doing it as a FA designation rather than a structural or mechanical. Okay, so I wanted to show you, even though that was last week or the week before when we talked about the names of the plans, we're just getting to look at these plans. So I want to remind you of some of these things as we go. That's why we're talking about that. Okay, it's nice to have a bunch of plans, isn't it? We can make some comparisons. Okay. Okay, one more thing I want to do with a site plan, and then we'll take a break, and then we'll move on to floor plans, is siting. And I think a lot of you have done this. John, did we do the actual exercise of siting a house in the framing class, or was that?
Yeah, I believe so, and maybe in James' class too.
Yeah, okay. So I may not do it as extensively because some of you have had this, but we'll touch on it anyway. So I'm going to go back on a shared screen, Debbie. So here's a, I keep this floor plan around. Actually, I think it's out of the modern carpentry, maybe. Yeah. But I like it for certain reasons. So it's a site plan. It's on Taylor Avenue and Madison Road, this house. The building line you can see around it. Now, the property line, let's see if we can, there's no, oh yeah, there it is. There's a north line, right? So nothing in this border is going north and south. So this line's probably the closest. And they spell it out as south 60 east. So that tells you how much off north or north and south this line is here. So in case you need to know that. Now here's sea floor elevation, 137 feet, 0.0 inches. Now what's odd about that 107 feet, 0.0 inches? Anybody? Or I should say anybody that's awake?
Where's
Okay, anybody that's laughing? I'll take anybody.
Looks like
If your sisters or mothers are there, I'll even take them.
I see the elevation. I don't know why it's odd though.
Well, how many times do you see 0.0 for inches?
Oh, true.
Oh,
Okay.
so that's decimal?
Yeah, it's a decimal. Yeah. Yeah. Our builders and architects use the foot inch system. So this is again done by engineers and surveyors. So they use that decimal system, which is kind of a pain in the ass.
We use it sometimes too. They have those special tape measures that they're using.
Yeah. Yeah. But they could, for the money they get paid to do this, I don't know if it's a lot. If it's a structural engineer, it's pretty handsome, but they should convert it for us. But 0 is okay, because that's just 137 feet, 0 inches. But
Right.
when we get to 0.4, so 0.4 foot is how many inches?
0.4 is
So this is a
3 inches.
this is a lesson we do in the math class. So I won't go into it a lot, but how you would do it is change 4/10 to a common fraction, 0.4 to a fraction with a number over another number. And in decimals, we can just read it. So that says 4/10. So we just put 4/10, right?
Right.
So that's 139 and 4/10 feet. So then we take the 4/10 and we make a proportion. 4/10 equals x over 12.
Okay.
And we solve that and we get, that's almost a half. So it'd be like almost 6 inches. If we solve that equation, I'll do it.
Right. I was thinking like 0.25 is 3 inches.
Yeah. So you
That's
can,
not-
you
in
can
my
get
mind.
close to it by just doing it that way. Exactly. That's a smart way to do it. And I'll show you when I get the whiteboard out, maybe over break, I'll get my whiteboard set up and show you how to do that mathematically. Because you do need to know it. Like here, you would need to know it. Anyway, let's go back to what that is. So when you want to site a house, you're coming to the house, you're the builder. The architect's giving you this plan, floor plans, the whole set of plans. You're going to start putting first thing you're going to do is you're going to grade the land. This is probably a flat city lot. After you grade it, you're going to put stakes in where the building lines are, where the foundation is going to be put, right? That's the first thing you're going to do. So you have to know where you're going to put those building lines, where you're going to stake it out. So you've got to know where those are in relation to the site line, the plot, the lines of the site, right? The property lines, yeah. And then you've got to also know where it is elevation wise, how high it is. Right? Is that going to be 20 feet off the ground or is it going to be buried in the ground? Well, this right here will tell you. So we'll look at that next. Let's go back to siting it horizontally on the ground. So if you're a builder, and a lot of you guys are carpenters, if you're the crew leader, you're going to take this home the week before, a couple nights before, and you're going to look at this and you're going to study it because you've got to tell your crew how to make building lines when they get to the site in a couple of days. So you're looking at this and you go, okay, where can we lay that out? Well, all you need for building lines are 2 corners. If you have the location of 2 corners, you can draw a straight line between them, right? Say you do this back wall. Once you get that back wall marked, then you can do perpendicular lines for the walls coming down. And you have all the size of those walls. That's all given to you. So what you're really looking to establish is the first line, the first building line, the first wall in the house. A lot of lots in the cities are built, and we'll look at some later, are built parallel to the sideline. You know, Santa Barbara, a lot of our houses are parallel to the sideline, perpendicular to the front. That's easy. The whole house is 10 feet from the left boundary line. So you just drive a stake and then you can lay out your whole house. This house is tilted on the site, so that makes it a lot harder. So we're going to first want to establish these 2 points. Does everybody see that?
Yeah.
Why we would do that? This point is 20 feet from the back. We know that, so right here. See that extension line? That means from here to here is 20 feet, but we don't have a line going this way, so we'll just keep that in our mind. This point, if I blew this up, see, you can see the extension line coming down. There's a lot of lines right here. This extension line means it's going to that point. So this point is 18 feet from the side boundary. But do we have, we don't have oh yeah, we have a 25 from the back. We do have one. Everybody see that?
Yeah.
As soon as this thing goes away. 25 feet from the back line. There's the extension line means it's 25 feet to that point. So how are we going to find that point?
It's 18 feet from one side of the property line and 25 from the other.
Right. That's right. So if you stand on this property line, you measure 18 feet out.
Right.
That's usually pretty accurate if you sort of eyeball it being perpendicular to this sideline.
Mhm.
But if you start up here and it goes down, it's going to be longer than, well, your 18 feet is going to be shorter than that point, right? So you got to make sure this is pretty
Perpendicular.
perpendicular. There's a couple ways you can do that. Mostly you can eyeball it. It's only going to be off a fraction of an inch if you eyeball it. Usually carpenters have pretty good right angle vision. If not, you can take an 18-foot stake right here and put an 18-foot stake down here and put a line between them,
Okay.
right?
Yep.
And then anything on that line will be 18 feet.
Yep.
And then you can take a 25-foot and just do the same thing.
Yep.
And where those two meet, that'll be exactly. So that's a long way. Usually carpenters are pretty good doing it just by sight. So we've got that point. That's great. And then we want this next one. How do we get this next one?
You could do the same thing with the 20-foot marker and run a line across, 2 points.
Yeah.
But then how to find that one, I can't see how to figure that one out.
Well, you're doing good. So you could run a stake 20 feet, like from here to there.
Uh-huh.
So the dot would have, so that corner would have to be on that line.
Right.
Then you stand on this point you got before, and it's 26 feet to that line. So then you take your tape and you do an arc at 26 feet until that arc hits that line,
I got you.
that string line that goes to 25 feet. And that point will be right there. Do other people see that?
Yep. Yes.
Yeah. If you're new, you don't have to, because if you're new to carpentry, you won't be doing this right off. But some of you are intermediate, you're starting to head up crews and have to know what you're doing. So those people need to understand this. So there's just various ways. You just have to look at it. That's why you take plans home the few days before, so you can study them and figure this out. That's part of you don't always get paid for that time, but if you do a good job because you studied and were smart about it, then your boss will have more confidence in you, and it will pay you off in the long run for sure. So, okay, so that's what you have to do. This is probably harder because they didn't give us some dimensions and the house is at a tilt, but nevertheless, that's going to happen. Okay, so the second thing is to get the elevation. So, time is it? I don't want to take your time. If we showed a section of a wall down to the foundation, maybe we'll do it. Maybe I'll find one. Yeah, let me do that. That would be, I don't know. I got to guess at this. Wrong guess. Try this one. Oh, bingo. Okay, I'm going to the share screen again. Let's see. Okay, can everybody see this wall to the left here?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so the finished floor, that gave an elevation. We'll go back and look at that. It said 130 feet, 130 something feet, 0.0. That was to, if it said finished floor, usually they're supposed to, but sometimes they'll say subfloor, which is down here. But the finished floor, you can see it's got the floor, actual floor, floorboards. That elevation is right there on that plan. So you're putting in your forms for this foundation down here, right?
Yes.
So say this is the top of your foundation. You want to know where to put the top of that so that your finished floor will end up at 130.0 feet. Right?
137.0, yeah.
Yeah. So you're going to have to add up all this stuff that's going in your house. The floor, the size of the floor joist, the thickness of the subfloor, any a stem wall or the equivalent, a block wall. Add that all up. And that's going to give you, if you subtract that sum, you know, say this is 11.5 inches. Then you got a 3/4 inch subfloor. So that's 12.25. Then you've got this little 3x6. Now it's got to be 3x6 sill. And then so it's going to be 2.5. So you're going to add that to it. And then you're going to add this thing. You get all that added up and say it's, I don't know, 4 feet. Then this point, the top of your form board will be 130.0 minus 4 feet or 127 feet. You got that?
Yes.
So when you go to the site, you go down there and you put your strings where you're going to put your foundation right on that 127 or 126, whatever that difference was, foot elevation. And that's where you're going to start putting your foundation in. Otherwise, your foundation could be anywhere, right?
Right.
If you just have the shape of the house, that doesn't tell you where it goes. You might just dig it into the ground where it's convenient and you'd probably be pretty close. But you want to be real close because the plan tells you that's where it is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So let's go back. Are we having fun yet?
Yes.
Yeah.
I give automatic A's to those people who say that. So it will behoove you to do that. What? Oh no. Okay, we got the floor plan on there.
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
so 170 elevation, floor elevation. If it doesn't say it, it should be finished floor. And then you'll have to know how thick your finished floor is, how thick everything underneath it is down to the top of the foundation. But you should have all that because it'll be on the plans, right?
Right.
So you can take that home. That's something you do at home. You subtract it, you know exactly what elevation. So where did they get 137? That's kind of an arbitrary number. It's certainly not 137 from feet above the property.
Sea level, isn't it?
Well, it could be sea level. So that's what we're going to talk about next. This will just take a minute. So usually there's a, what do you call it? A benchmark on the plans. And that is a manhole cover out in the street because the streets don't change elevation very much. It could be a fire hydrant because they're usually pretty permanent. It could be a plaque that's even there that the surveyor put in. That's going to be your benchmark. And that will be a certain distance above sea level. In Santa Barbara, in the low spots, it's, you know, anywhere from, 10 feet to 30 feet, usually somewhere in there. So you could say that was 30 feet and say this was, no, say that was 37 feet. Just
So
for,
the benchmark is that corner right there?
well, no, they don't have one on here.
Oh,
This
gotcha.
is,
Okay.
yeah, this is kind of a, sometimes when they have books for students, they're not always realistic. They give you a plan that doesn't have everything, but a benchmark would be somewhere around here. I was just pointing to this dot. Say
Okay.
and say it says 37 feet. The surveyor has to say that. He has to have a place and he has to tell you what that is. So say he says it's 37 feet above sea level. Sometimes people will go, they'll just make that 100, no matter what the elevation is. And then this would be 137 rather than 37. So they can do it that way. They can make this 0 or 100 and not exactly what it is, or they can make it exactly, say it's 37. And this could be 39, which 2 feet above that. If it was a very flat lot, you know, it would be 2 feet above that benchmark. We don't have a benchmark in this plan, so we don't know what that 137 stands for. It could be 137 feet above sea level.
Oh, okay, so sometimes it can be above the benchmark versus sea level. Is
Yeah,
that-
they do it
Oh.
both ways, right?
I got
Just to make the numbers easier. So then when you have the one finished floor elevation and you've subtracted down to get your top of your building forms, your wood forms, then you can start pouring your concrete, and every other elevation will be off of that. So 131.5 means that this garage is 6 feet or 5.5 feet lower. So it's going to step down. If we don't have an elevation of this particular house, but it obviously means that well, see, they give a garage and a floor. I don't know what that is, but if they just had the floor, the garage, it would mean that it steps down. And see, you've got steps here. So it looks like this part's graded up a little bit, and your garage is on the kind of the street level, which would make sense. And then this is a little higher and you step up. That's why it's a slight difference between this and this. Anyway, all the parts of the yard, the corners, 137.4 will have elevations and any important parts in the house. This corner of the house has an elevation. Okay. Everybody got that?
So the existing elevation is the one with the EX 130, like for that top left, that's 138.3. So then it has to be after 137.4.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Top left.
Top left over here? Oh, 138.
Yeah. So what's the difference between that 137 and that 138?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't really know. Anybody?
Okay.
It's got an X.
Are you talking about on the top left?
Yes.
Yeah, the top left, like
Well, all of them have a dual.
all of them
think
have.
EX is existing, and then that number above is maybe final.
Okay.
Okay.
That
So
could
that's
be.
taken off a foot almost.
Yeah. Yeah. This one's, 0.3, 4 inches lower. So yeah. Okay. That makes sense. Good question. You guys are spotting stuff. Okay. Let's get out of elevations. And let's take a 10-minute break. And we'll shoot for 8:15 for tonight. But let's take a 10-minute break.
Sounds good.
Good.
Now, if anybody, like any new people or my signers and captioner, if they want to talk to me, they should during this time too. But if anybody else has anything they want to talk about.
Hey, Patrick, I had a question.
Sure.
Yeah, I heard you say that it was the blueprinting class was more residential.
Yes.
I mean, because I do more commercial, I would still benefit from taking the class, though, right? I mean, I've
Oh, yeah. Well,
Yeah,
you
okay.
saw that Shumash,
yeah,
I mean, the Shumash and the Laguna Blanca school, those are both commercial plans.
right,
and we're
yeah,
looking at
yeah,
those.
and they
We'll
all
be
the
looking-
general base, the same basic idea.
Yeah.
Okay,
And I'll try to point out some differences as we go.
okay, because what I do is I work for a school district, so
Oh, wow.
Yeah, all the school buildings and stuff. So.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of the general stuff will be the same.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. That's what I figured.
What school system do you work for?
I work for Oxnard School District. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So
Oh, that's great.
police department there. Yeah.
You
So,
like it?
I used to work. Yeah, no, I've been there only 2 years, and then I did 12 years at the city of Oxnard.
Mm-hmm.
So
Wow.
yeah, I did in parks and then landscape inspector.
Yeah.
So I've seen a lot of landscaping plans,
Yeah.
and so I definitely know what you're talking about with the engineering scale. 'Cause
Yeah.
it's huge. You know, we got acres and acres.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Not going to fit it with any little architect scale, that's for sure.
Yeah, I used to be in charge of the park next to Oxnard College there too.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh,
Real
great.
big park there. Yeah. So
Yeah. You know, I live in a development here in Goleta. And,
Oh, okay.
And we're trying to redo our landscaping. So we had a landscaping company come in and then we tried to get a local landscaping company to do some design work, draw some front yard
Yeah.
plans and stuff. And I sent them the only plans we had with the development,
uh-huh.
and they had engineering scales. I mean, yeah, engineering scales on it.
On the yeah.
And they said we can't do that because they have to be converted to regular scale. And I said, no, these are regular scales. I mean, I didn't make it up.
You know
These
what?
guys-
It's because a lot of landscape is such huge, areas.
Yeah.
So
And I think some of them have apps, and software programs
yeah,
that have
Yeah.
to have architectural scales, maybe.
yeah. A lot of the companies are using apps now because when I left the city, the contractors because we had like those they call CFDs.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of those got them done by contractors. So a lot of those contractors, landscape contractors, are using software now.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, work orders, tracking their crews,
Right.
everything's
Right.
computerized.
Yeah.
So yeah. Then I heard you say you went to Tri-County Blueprinting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So is it still the same owner? Because I mean, I'm not out in Santa Barbara, but because I used to work for them years ago.
I think
owner-
it's the same.
The owner used to be Steve.
Yeah. I rarely deal with anybody but the, girls at the front desk.
Oh yeah, is Shauna still there? Is it Shauna?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh yeah.
I mean, the last time I went in, it was under COVID. So, we didn't
Oh,
get too
yeah.
close. We didn't talk
No,
too
this
much. I
was
used to go in and chat with
years
them.
and years ago. And
Yeah.
then,
Well, they
I
used
was-
to be on was it Olive?
well, I used to work at. They had a location in Ventura.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and actually, I used to run the plans up to Carpinteria. That's where we would meet to give it to
Oh,
the
yeah.
office.
Oh, yeah. Huh.
But and
Well,
then
they moved from Olive. They're still downtown, but they're on
They're on Haley now.
They're on Haley,
oh, okay.
almost to Gutierrez.
Yeah, and then I was talking at work, and I go, a lot of people probably don't even know why they call them blueprints.
Yeah.
It's because of they used to do the ammonia blueprint.
Right. Boy, they used to stink, huh?
Oh yeah, I got the chance to make a couple of those.
Oh God.
It was crazy, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's why they quickly figured out a way to refigure it out because
Yeah, I really like vellum.
yeah,
I like
oh,
vellum.
it's really easy to work with.
Oh, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Small world.
Yeah. Yeah, the building, even though there's a lot of contractors, the building world's still pretty small.
Yeah. Yeah. Then years and years ago, I used to work for an excavating company for a little bit too, out of the Avenue in Ventura, but they were kind of shady. They closed down, and I heard some shady stuff about them. Yeah. They were. I don't know if you ever remember. It was called J&S Excavating.
No, what did they excavate?
They did all kinds of commercial,
Yeah.
and stuff. And at the time, I was working pipeline for them.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, they closed down. I forget why, but yeah.
Did you do some of the work here at the Laguna Blanca school?
No. I.
No, I meant.
Oh. I was
Me?
like,
No, I've never
No.
done any work there. I don't know who even, it says who did the plans. I haven't even looked to see who the architect was.
Yeah, Kruger or Kruger. I'm not sure how you pronounce his name.
Are you looking at that set now? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
is that a public school or is that
It's a private school.
it's a private
Yeah.
school? Oh, okay.
Yeah. But they have a nice campus,
You know, I wonder, do privates? I'm sure they're a educational institution, so they have to deal with the DSA as well, too, probably, right?
Yeah,
Okay,
that's right. Yeah,
Okay, yeah,
I know. We've tried to get stuff done, but when you deal with the state, it just takes so much longer.
oh, it's crazy.
And so when I first became the chair of the construction technology program, Armando Arias, the head of the drafting, we wanted to build a really nice construction headquarters in the parking lot at Wake down below.
Yeah.
And then, we had to get it done. And then we just realized the bureaucracy would just kill us.
Oh, it's crazy.
So it'd like take 5 years, and we said, well, we can't afford that. So
Yeah. No, it's crazy. I've seen some stuff where I go, why are they calling for this, or why are they calling for this? It's just like overkill.
Well, it's like everything in this country. The reason they have the higher levels, state or federal, is to
Yeah.
make sure it's all the same and it's minimally safe or whatever. But why can't they just hold local responsibilities to that and fine them if they don't do it?
I hear you. It would make it a lot simpler,
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy to have to go to the state. We know every bit as much as they do.
Well, the only thing I could think of as for public schools is because of the funding.
Yeah, well, maybe that's
It's all the state's money, so
yeah.
that's probably
Yeah,
why.
but even that shouldn't be that way either, right? But you're right.
It shouldn't.
Yeah, but that's probably it. They want to know what's happening to their money.
Yeah, exactly. No,
But
we have a
like
company. We have a company that we deal with that they're basically project managers, and they deal with the DSA for the most part.
Yeah,
That's how crazy it is. It's just
yeah,
time job.
yeah. Well, it's like OSHA too. Every contractor's
Yeah.
got a person who does the OSHA work.
Yeah.
And I mean, OSHA is important, but that that bureaucratic change just
Yeah.
wastes money and drives everybody crazy. We have to figure out how to trust each other more.
Oh yeah.
Often when it gets out of hand, like our regular government's out of hand,
Yeah.
like nothing's been getting done for years. Even before Trump, things weren't getting done. There's just too much of a
It's
loggerhead. That's got to change. We can't have a government that doesn't do anything,
Yep.
So we'll see how it goes.
A lot of the politicians, unfortunately, are out for themselves.
Boy, I know. That's the
Yeah,
problem.
They've got their own interests. They've made
Yeah.
it being a politician a career, and it pays well. So
Yeah. Well, those guys get retirement. I mean, they just serve
oh yeah.
2 years and they get a life retirement.
Yep.
What?
And what's crazy is all the other money on the side that they get.
Yeah, I know.
Oh.
In Maine, I lived in Maine for a while, and
Oh really?
Yeah, the rural states that are kind of out in the boonies.
Yeah.
It's funny because all their state representative, not the federal, but the ones in the state house, they all had second jobs. They had to have other jobs. They were insurance salesmen or whatever, and they would do it on the side. I thought it was it was hard on them. So maybe they could have got some compensation, but they were more normal people as a result of that.
Right. Yeah. Well, like I'm not. This is cool with the Zoom because I'm actually in Fillmore right now.
Yeah.
I live all the way out. Yeah, I live all the way out in Fillmore, and our local fire department, I'd say 80% of them are volunteer fire department.
Yeah. Wow.
They're trying to get their foot in the door other places like City of LA or whatever.
Sure, sure.
But yeah, I wish it was like that a little more, you know?
Yeah.
A positive one into our
Patrick, I talked to Kenny again today. He was walking by with his kids.
Yeah, well, I'm ready. This guy's not answering. I'm gonna give up on him.
And so I asked him about the guy, and I may have got the name wrong, but I sent the phone number. They said he doesn't have an account anymore.
Oh, yeah, he may be gone. Well, last thing he said he was his boss's company was doing work up in Shasta, or way up out of town. So
well, that means in terms of
that was an excuse for a while. But then I would say, well, okay, when are you coming back to Santa Barbara? We'll get together then. And then I didn't hear from him. So,
But Kenny said they said send by a guy, tell him, and he'll tell us what needs to be done.
okay. Yeah, so anytime I can have someone come over and look at it. I put the water out, and I'll do that when they're there too, to show them how the water runs. But it looks like maybe get away with even a smaller patch,
Yeah,
than I
because
thought. Yeah, that little triangle in the end. I was thinking it had to go all the way back up toward the door, but when I redid the water, I thought, oh, maybe we can get away just a
he
triangle.
was saying because it's so recent, as long as you clean it up and do
Yeah.
washing and sand, he was saying it should be fine. It's
Yeah.
been done for the past year.
All right, we'll do it. So, yeah, I meant to tell you that we were ready to go that way now.
But I was hoping the original guy would have fixed it, because obviously that should be apparent.
Yeah. Yep.
Ugh.
I've got to redo I had one of those Japanese downspouts with the little cups.
Yeah.
So much water came down that it just destroyed my wife's flower bed underneath it. It looks really bitchin', but it's just not working out. So she said, Patrick, so I've got to do the bended, which
You got
looks,
the honeydew list.
Well,
what?
Honeydew list.
Yeah, really.
the-
This
the-
rain and wind has been crazy, huh?
Oh, it's gonna be raining for the next couple days.
I know.
Yeah.
I keep driving to the beach hoping to see big surf. They said there was going to be 10 to 15 foot surf, but it's pretty flat today.
I'm hoping it. They lifted that stay-at-home order right now. All of a sudden.
Yes.
So I'm hoping the campsite's open again, because I have a reservation from months ago for Carpinteria State Beach.
Yeah. Check it out. It may be open.
I'm hoping.
That's great. I hope that works out, because we're all going nuts not having.
Oh, I know.
My
I
wife
don't
works.
get why they closed the campgrounds in the first place, but
I know. My wife works for a restaurant on State Street, and they just put this. They spent $15,000 to put this.
yeah, on the
outside.
outdoor dining stuff.
Yeah, they're all doing that, and then they shut it off, and they couldn't even use that, and
Yeah, it's crazy.
So they're going back to that at least.
Wait, didn't everywhere reopen now outside though?
They did, but then they had to close down
They
last
closed
month.
everything, yeah.
No,
Because
no,
we-
like today, the
Yeah,
Yeah,
today
that's
was
what I
the first
saying,
day. Yeah, they lifted it, so today's the first day they're out there.
But I think only 25% capacity inside or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's gotta be
mostly
distancing and
outdoors, right?
gas and stuff, but
Yeah, I think outdoors maybe 100%.
we don't want those restaurants to go away. They're good. They're all good restaurants.
Right?
Yeah.
They
All right,
picked the
let's
rain
start again, huh?
week to reopen outside.
Yeah. Hey, let's start and polish off these floor plans. So it's interesting that all the books I've used over the years, for text, none of them have separate chapters on floor plans, which is really interesting. So we're going to go to our first tempo. Oh, we should look at that anyway. It's not a floor plan, but so Debbie, I'm going to a shared screen again.
So let's look at one more question where we're going to walk through the entire thing ourselves. We'll be able to determine.
So I lied. I said I was going to do a floor plan. One last site plan. So this set of plans is from a educational company. So they're not totally accurate. They put in more information than is usually on plans, and they do it to educate us. So like you would rarely find a window schedule or a door schedule on a cover sheet, but they just took advantage of this room. They used to put illustration. Actually, they used to have a cover sheet was an illustration, but they don't do that too much anymore. Although they could, because they have those computer plans. Used to have somebody who could do watercolors. But there's your site location map again, and here's your site plan. Let's see, and here's the north, facing north. This doesn't, if I recall, this doesn't give a scale. Anybody find a scale on this?
It just says scale in feet there, but it just shows.
Oh, yeah, that's right. So this is a 20 or 40, 1 inch equals 20 feet engineer scale. And this is 1 inch equals 40 feet. So these are 1/4 inch. So if an inch equaled 20 feet, what would 1/4 inch be? Anybody?
If an inch equals what?
20
5.
feet. Yeah, 5 feet. So each of these would be 5, 10, 15, 20. So you could use a 1/4 inch scale and just count them. Each one is 5 feet. Or you could use a regular ruler and count the 1/4 inch as 5 feet. Or if you had a engineering scale, it'd be a lot easier. Okay.
Can you guys read the words in that?
It's a little difficult.
Where, right? You mean the scale words?
Almost like all of them.
I think in general, it's a little far out, kind of zoomed out, I guess. I don't know.
If I focus, I can kind of see it.
So, so John, how about now?
No, that fixed it.
Yeah, I'll try to go in when I'm not just talking in general. I just wanted to, so this has the bar on the right, which is correct. Cover
Yeah.
sheet and site plan. They usually put a scale in here too. Again, yeah, you're right. We'll have to get the wrong one. Yeah, they'll scale as noted. And they will do that on here. But this is C1, see, so this is Civic 1. So at least they did it like have been talking about. Site plan is usually it is a civil plan, but it's not always a separate page, civil page. Okay, so let's go out of here and
find the critical points in phase
6.
If we're approaching
can everybody see this floor plan?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I can make it a little bigger. So scale, first floor plan, it's really nice when they label the plan on the plan as well as on the, the little sidebar. It helps you go through them faster. Anyway, there's scale 1 inch equals 1 foot 0 inch, 1/4 inch equals 1 foot 0 inch. And 1/4 inch is pretty standard scale because it fits in an average middle class home. It fits on a single sheet pretty good. So this has dimensions for everything. But if you want to know, look at these. Everybody see this dining room and kitchen area here? Yes?
Zoom in a little bit.
Yes.
So see this wall right here?
Yeah.
You can see my pointer, right?
Yes.
Okay. And then down here, the wall looks thinner, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yes. So you might go, huh, and measure it. So this one would probably measure, architects usually use a full 6 inches for wall rather than 5.5 if it's a 2x6 wall, because that 1/2 inch is too hard to deal with. So they usually make this a full 6, and they usually make this a full 4. So this is a 2x4 wall. So if you had your scale, nowhere does it tell you what those are. You could just put your scale on there and go, oh yeah, it's a 6 inch, it's a 2x6 wall. So that's the first example of why you'd need a scale, because this is already dimensioned out. But so there's just things in here that this one's pretty well dimensioned, but a lot of times it's just a particular dimension you want to know, and you can't find it already dimensioned on the plans. Now, let me just point out a few things on this. Center lines, windows. This is a window. You get used to looking at these objects. A window is located by a center line, not by the side of the window. And same with doors. Let's find a door. Here's a door here going out to the deck. No, that's a window. Front door. Yeah, here's the front door, and it's a center line. So these are done by center lines. So this window is 12, the center line of this window D is 12 feet, 0 inches from the bend in the outside of the wall. So see how these are centered? So the center lines, does anybody know why that is? Why wouldn't you just measure from there to the side of the window?
I mean, is it just for simplicity, like one measurement versus two? You can
Well,
always
that's a
measure off-
that's a good answer. That may be the answer. I don't know the answer. I just know the one I like, but that's one.
Different windows have different call outs and sizes, and they need different rough openings.
Yeah, they're different size, rough openings, the trim's different. So the edge of the window is kind of problematical in terms of finding an exact place. The frame will stop, and then you'll have a space, shims, and then you'll start the window. And so it's just easier, it's more accurate, more exact to say, well, the center of the window we can always find, and that's what that is. And then you can measure back either way with your particular window and find out where that, the trimmer for the window goes. So that's that. Lot of dimensioning, and like I said before, the smaller dimensions are on the side closest to the house. So 210 3/4 is to the center line, and this 5'9", 5/8" is those together. So the single ones on the outside, and then you've got all these in here, and those all total up to the 58.6, which is your largest dimension of all. So it's always from smaller to overall away from the house. So when you have something that's got a lot of parts to it, like a floor plan, some people like to divide up, like to classify the different parts that are on the plan. It's not necessary. It's another way of looking at it. But sometimes I teach my class what I'm going to tell you now, and that is there are three aspects to every plan. And the first is things. There are always things on the plan. So on a floor plan, you've got a stove, you've got a sink, you've got walls, you've got windows, you've got doors. Those are all things, steps, decks. So every plan will have things in it. Obviously, we're talking about the real world. Then it will have dimensions, and especially a floor plan. That's where you get most of your dimensions for framing, for building. Even when you have a framing plan, it usually won't have dimensions. It'll just tell you how the wood's arranged, but I won't give you dimensions. Everything comes off the floor plan. Because when the client comes in at the end, he or she wants to make sure that that opening in the dining room is 13 feet, 0 inches. It can't be different than that. So we have things, we have dimensions, and the last thing is called, what are they called? Annotations. That's spelled ANNOTATION. Like some of you, maybe you've seen annotated Bibles. You ever seen one of those? So it'll be a regular Bible, and then on the margins, it'll have all these little explanatory notes that tell you what the hell the Bible's talking about, because it's written in it's a translation of a very old language, and the translations are very old, so sometimes it's pretty confusing. So annotation means just an explanation. So obviously, what kind of explanations do we have on this page?
Notes.
Handicap
What's that?
ramp, the optional ramp there.
Yeah, exactly. So here's an explanation of what this is if you can't get it from just the drawing. So it says handicap ramps are part of universal design strategies. So you'll know that this has to come under that ADA, and we have to get the dimensions. Also, all the names of things, deck, dining room, those are considered annotations too, because they tell you what something is. So they don't always have to have a lead arrow like this. These are called leaders. It could just be a name. It could just be, on the, there's all kinds of words on here. It could be, this is a leader again. So it's pointing to something. So you can't tell from just looking at it that it's a 2x8. So they spell it out for you. So sometimes, in some ways, it's easy to look at plans as having those three things or objects, dimensions, and annotations. Okay. Okay, so on this plan, look at the front steps here. So there's symbols on here, like this arrow. So an arrow typically on a roof plan or a floor plan designates a downward motion. Because on this, you can't tell what's up or down just looking at these steps. Obviously, it's going into a house, so it would most likely be going down this way, but just in case, they put an arrow down. Same thing with a roof. If you can't tell which way, you look at a roof from the top, a gable roof, and it could be a butterfly roof. The center line could be the bottom of the two things going down, or it could be the top of the two sides going off. So downward arrow is one symbol. See this symbol here, everybody?
Yeah.
This is a section line. So this says that if we take a knife and we cut through the house all the way along this line, and we look that way, the section drawing will show us everything that's inside that house that you can see looking that way from that line. And we'll talk more about that when we talk about sections themselves. But I just want to tell you what that, and then this tells you the area and the page and the area on the page where the section drawing is. Then there's these little E's. These are window designations, and they're often the same because they'll be the same type of window. And then you'll go to a schedule that has all the windows listed. It'll have A, B, C, D, E, F, and tell you what they are. So that's what those are. Obviously, a door with a little swing motion line tells you which way the door opens. That's pretty standard it's pretty important too, because you have to order the doors to swing a certain way. You can't just order any old door. You've got a rod and shelf here, so some abbreviations are pretty standard in a closet. Anything else? All the things are named, the sink, the toilet. Deck steps going down that way. So you get the idea, yeah?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, where are we? Okay, let's look at one more floor plan and then we'll. Oh, blah, 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 blah. Okay, here's one by Bill Dang, one of Bill Dang's homes. That's probably this one we need to. Section lines, windows, doors. Also, you notice this little symbol here, right here?
Yeah.
So electricians don't have in simple middle-class residential homes, electricians don't have their own plan. The floor plan has the location of outlets, lights, ceiling lights with where the switch is located. Just a few symbols. Kitchen might have some more
Could you
complicated
zoom in a little
symbols.
bit, please?
What's that?
Sorry, could you zoom in a little bit, please?
I can.
Thank you.
You see that symbol there?
Yes.
The circle with two lines?
Yep, like a plug.
Yeah, like a plug. So that's an outlet symbol. And we'll go, when we look at electrical unit later, we'll go over that. But I just wanted to let you know that floor plans have that basic electrical layout, switches, lights, outlets. And then they may have, the kitchen may have, where is this kitchen in this place? Over here. Kitchens sometimes have more complicated electrical. So see this right here, where it's the same thing, but it's got half of the circle is darkened in.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know what that means. It means it's not a normal outlet. It's either a switched outlet so that a switch works half of the outlet, or it's I don't think it's a GFI, although that would make sense because it's on a counter. Maybe that's a GFI, one that's made for wet areas because it's on a countertop, but it's a special type of outlet. You can see the difference.
I have a question. The
Yes, sir.
A5 detail, like that A5, and it has arrows going in all directions and 1, 2, 3, 4. What's that about? Because that's not like sectional, right?
You're right. That's going to be a detail, I believe.
Oh, so that just gives you the detail of the.
Yeah. So you go to that A5, I believe. I'm not sure though.
Yes.
That's the first time I've noticed that. It's funny you bring it out. It's interesting. See, the thing about this guy is a lot of times they'll put the annotations on the plan, but he has a number for everything. So you have to go, so like 10, what does 10 mean? So you have to go over to the side here, Kenmore stainless steel refrigerator. So some guys do that to make it more neat. I find it more confusing because you have to go back and forth. But it's a pretty tight little plan, so maybe that's a smart way to do it. So maybe he's having the details. Well, let's see. I don't know if I have all his plans here, but let's see if we've got a detail page. Actually, I don't think we do.
Wow.
There's a elevation.
It just look interesting because of the numbers all around it too. I mean, I
Yeah.
figured for that
Yeah,
section.
well, I'll find out what that was. Donna, do you know what that is?
Out again. With your arrow.
It's a circle with a square around it. I'll find it for you here. This one here, A5.
A5,
What?
that sounds like an architectural call out or like I can't
Like a-
see your notes, but is
like
it
a-
in your,
Like a detail, maybe?
yeah. If it's in a square, it looks like he has squares in those, his notes. Is he identifying That-
No, it's not a square like the notes.
Yeah, it's got its own like designation or page or.
Yeah. Oh, I don't have all the pages for this plan, so we'll
Wait,
see. I
that's-
tell you what, we'll see if we see it in another plan.
Have you
Um,
scrolled down to A5?
No, I don't. Well, yeah, we could.
Apple.
Hold-
It's A5 is the call out.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
on
we
the
know, we know
architectural
that.
page.
A3, A4.
Hey.
Ooh, winner, winner.
So it's just calling out the page. It's just giving you another
Well, it looks
elevation.
like- yeah, that's more details inside the kitchen there, right? I mean,
Yeah, it's an interior elevation of the kitchen. And those are the numbers on there were the directions that it's facing, right?
oh, okay, yeah, there we go. Okay, yeah, I see that. 3, 4, 1. Okay, yes.
Yeah,
All
so
right.
let's look at um three has a, well, so does 2. 3 has a window behind it. Let's see which way. Well, that would be looking this way, right? So
Right.
what we saw with 3 was this section right here, this length right here.
Yeah, I got you.
And then 2 would be looking this way. Okay. Yeah, you don't see those too often. I don't see them too often. I don't know, maybe Donna does, but they do give elevations. They do give elevations of kitchens, especially because you want to do the cabinet work if it's spelled out. Often the architect, like this set of plans is like a preset. So the architect will do a really simple set, minimal for the city, and then the client can see, and then they'll make changes. So he won't do a lot of extra drawing. Everything will be as simplified as he can do it. And then he'll come back. And so like the kitchen that may be a general idea for the kitchen, but when you get a cabinet maker involved, he may change that whole thing around.
Gotcha.
So anyway, good call, good notice on that. Okay, let's go back. So you got an idea of floor plans, right? Now,
Yes.
here's the thing. We're going to go through each of the types of plans. We've site plan, floor plan. We have elevations, which look at the outside. You can go back to that first handout to see what they're called. Elevations we'll look at, we'll study. There's sometimes they do often a foundation plan, to do the concrete foundation, and then they'll do sometimes framing plans, not always. If it's a simple house that the normal carpentry crew could figure out, they won't do a separate framing plan. If it's got some complexity, they'll have those too. And then they'll have, they may have a roof plan from straight down if the roof's complicated. Often they don't have roof plans. Then they'll have sections because they'll want to, if there's something in the middle of the house that isn't obvious, you can't see it from the elevation because that doesn't go into the house, then you'll do a section and it'll show you what that thing that you couldn't see from any other view. So what I'm saying is once we get to all these plans, then we notice how they all work together. We saw a little bit today how that floor plan directed us to the elevations of the kitchen. But if we have a problem with the plan, then we'll go, like, say we have a problem with a girder, we say, well, what's holding up this floor? Then we'll go back to the foundation plan and look for a girder in that location, go, oh, I see. There's a girder there that's holding this up. So the plans all work together. So first we're going to look at generally what they have on them, and then we're going to start solving problems and using several plans together. Okay?
Sounds good.
That's what's coming up. So we go through the plans in themselves pretty soon, and then we'll be able to identify problems and things that are not obvious. So questions for tonight? I know you guys have been asking questions all along, which is really great. I encourage that. So I'm gonna let you go. I look for the, look for the discussion blog tomorrow maybe. And if I give more of an assignment, send me the pictures of your measuring things, remember from last week? I think there's a set 5, the last set, it'll be in the file. I don't think I put the assignment on yet, but I'll put the assignment on what, I think we're gonna do framing plans next week. And I'm gonna give you the handout, I've already given it to you, I think, but it's in the files anyway. Has a background in framing for a lot of you who haven't been carpenters before or are starting. We're gonna just go over like the basics of framing, and then we'll look at some framing plans. So that'll be next week.
Nice.
So when I'll get those up by tomorrow. And then, so do that, do the blog. And then catch up. I would, for all of you that are late, I would look at the videos from the 2 first sessions, and then look through the handouts, the set 1 through 5, and just sort of, if a lot of you know all.
What's the name of that app? What's the name of the app that it's all through? I have it, but
it's on Canvas.
so I can't access that yet.
Oh yeah. Oh, why don't Duke?
Yes.
I'll send you all that stuff on an email.
Oh, cool. Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, tomorrow I'll send that all to you.
Okay.
Does anybody else need that? Eric, you might need that too because you're.
Yeah, I'm gonna need it as well.
Okay,
And also,
so
are you gonna give us a number so we can register? Because the class is closed.
Yeah, but you enrolled before it was closed, right?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I'm going to reinstate you.
Oh,
You don't have
okay.
to do anything. I
Okay.
just send your name into the admissions and say these guys were dropped by accident and put them back on.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't have to do any of that. But do you have any of the handouts? Have you been getting my emails?
Yeah, I got the emails and the handout.
Oh, okay. So I'll just send them to Duke then. I think that's the only person. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so
Can I
that's,
access it
yeah.
through pipeline or does it have to be through I can't access those through pipeline, right? It has to be through Canvas.
Yeah, it has to be through Canvas. I'll send you an email or a set of emails like I send everybody else. I'll do that. Tomorrow you'll get them.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. And then when you get on, you don't have to go to those. You can just look at the Canvas files, but until then, I mean, you may be on by morning. I'll send it anyway tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and think about what classes you need for summer and fall. So that, because, we teachers have to plan too for it because of the nature of things right now. Okay, good session, you guys. And so if Debbie, the captioner, or the translators, what are we calling it?
Sign language.
The translators want to ask me any questions, I'll stay on a little bit. Or are you guys all set?
See you next class.
Okay, the rest of you can go. I'll be here for a few minutes.
Night.
See you, Patrick.
Okay. All right, see you. Bye, Donna.
Thank you.
Yeah,
All right, thank you.
I had one thing, Patrick.
yeah.
So I'm building a set of gates.
Oh, hold on 1 second. So Debbie,
Yeah.
how did that go tonight?
It's fine. You don't need to announce your screen share.
I'm bad at it anyway, thank you.
But no, you don't need it for,
Okay.
it's what worked fine. It was
Okay.
fine. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because we're there for a while, so, okay.
Yeah, no, it's good.
But
So I'm
otherwise we're good?
yeah, we're very good.
Okay. And Katie and Lindsay, we're okay?
All good.
Okay,
I
thanks,
had
great.
one technical question to ask you,
Yeah.
if I may.
Yeah,
And Lindsay was interpreting this, thank goodness. But when we were doing the layout of a property and the house is not parallel, and you
Yes.
were starting to mention, you measure here and here, and I could see there were these offset lines, and then you use the term arc. Can you
Yeah.
explain that to me?
Yes, so you need two people to do it. One person holds the tape measure at the hook end on the first point, and then the other person takes a tape measure and draws an arc at that distance, 26 feet in the sand or whatever's there, or above in the air, and they arc across until it crosses that line. There's a string line that we put, 25 feet in.
So they're
so the
literally
arc-
doing this
Yes.
with it until
Yeah.
it makes a cross. Okay.
Yes, and where it crosses that string line, that's the point.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'd love to know
No, it's a
the
great question.
anthropology of all of this, how all
Yeah.
of this got passed down
Yeah.
in the trades. It's pretty fascinating.
Yeah, and that's a really good point. And I'll probably emphasize that some more times because a lot of people don't know to do an arc with that and they just want to measure,
Mhm.
specific things. And sometimes it's almost impossible not to do that. So,
Wow,
a great question.
fascinating.
So I guess Debbie's showing me this. Okay. She's showing me a little piece of the, what do you
The
call it?
transcript?
Pardon?
The transcript?
Yeah, the transcript. Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Have a good night.
Yeah, you too. Yeah, thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay. So John, John Tappy, do you have a short question or you don't want to hang out or what?
He's
Yeah, I was just gonna ask, when are you gonna get vaccinated? Does the city college?
Well, I'm 65 and over is supposed to be now, but they did say it was 75 and over and then 65, but now they say it's 65, but we're going to do the 75s first. It's the same thing. I guess it's supposed to get us excited. But 65 is actually going, but there's no vaccine. So as soon as they get the vaccine, I can make an appointment and get it. I think it'll be within a week or 2 weeks at the latest.
Do you get any leeway because you work for the school district or?
Well, yeah, I'm a teacher, but the teacher goes along with the 65 or over. So I'm already there. So I would, before there was a separation, I was thinking, oh, maybe I can get in as a teacher, but I don't want to go before my, fair time, but
Yeah,
I just want to, right when my fair time comes, I want to hit it because
right.
I'm old and I don't trust, I don't trust my body to
Yeah.
defend against
'Cause
this thing perfectly. So
we just got our second dose today for the
you
vaccine.
did. Do you do health work?
Yeah, so they give you this card and then
yeah.
where they put the what is it, the lot number and all that stuff.
Yeah. Where'd you get it?
Well, because where I work at Samarkand, it's
Yeah.
skilled nursing and
Oh, great.
yeah,
Oh,
so
good
I
for
got
you.
in
That's
on
great.
tier 1.
Yeah. No, you guys need that. You tier 1 guys need it because you're working in those hot spots.
Yeah.
That's
but-
really great. Good for you.
Right on.
Well, I'll be in a couple weeks and then John and the rest of the class will be in a month or so, hopefully.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just starting to straighten it out. So
Yeah. Well,
we have to give
hopefully
them a
with Biden and helping out with the facilitation of the vaccines, it'll
Boy,
go faster.
They're jumping on it,
Yeah.
I think
I'm on a lot of the. Go ahead.
No, I think it's going as fast as it can go considering what they were left. I think they're
Yeah.
really, but we've got to build this into a permanent thing.
Yeah.
I was saying, because these things are going to come around, they may be coming around sooner than we think, like that new strain
Yeah.
may actually not be covered by the vaccine. The
Right.
talk is maybe a booster would do it, maybe not, but we may actually be getting a bunch in a row for all we know,
Right.
Let's hope not.
Yeah. Well, we get on the county calls with the public health department, so if I hear anything, I'll let you know.
Okay, sure. Thank you.
Of any places that they're doing them.
Yeah, because sometimes it'll be
so-
uneven. I check a lot of places every few days, and
Yeah.
I go to Samsung so that they send me a thing. But maybe the county will be ahead, or I mean, even Costco and CVS are eventually going to start giving them.
Yeah.
But everybody goes, yeah, we'll do it as soon as we get vaccine. So we're all
Right.
waiting. So
Right.
but good for you. So,
All right, Patrick. Well,
right.
I'll let John ask his question.
okay, thanks.
All right. Have a good one.
All right, see you, John.
All right. So now that I'm here,
Yeah.
no, so my dad, his work has been cut down a bunch over the past week, and for the next like 2 or 3 weeks, they have issues with the sheetrockers showing up, and so he's building the set of gates. And one of them it's in Montecito. One of them got washed away in the mudslide, and he's building a matching one of the one that's left. But one of the problems is the top cord of one. It's all clear vertical grain Douglas fir. It has to have a big bandsaw because it's the top of the gate's curved. And I'm trying to figure out the cheapest way. Is it cheapest to buy a Ryobi bandsaw or something?
Do you just have one cut?
It's literally one cut.
Okay, so what you should do is you should ask Rodney if you can use his, tell him I would like you to be able to use his bandsaw at the shop at school.
Yeah.
He's kind of in control of them because, well, when I was chair, I was in control of all of it, but he's the only one that really uses it.
Yeah.
And he'll say, oh yeah, it's all ready to go. Then I can go over there with you. He doesn't have to go over, but he needs to know we want to use it. So he'll say, oh, well, I've got to set it up first or whatever. And he's over there a lot, so he could do that.
Yeah. I saw an ad for Up Construction this morning on Facebook, and I sent him a message, but it autocorrected to this weird thing. And he called me. He's like, "What happened?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And my message autocorrected.
Well, he's not part of Up Construction anymore.
I know, but it was just like a weird thing this morning. But no, it's seriously one cut.
Yeah. Do you want to? You probably need his phone number, right?
No, he called me this morning.
Oh, okay.
I texted him.
Oh, okay.
And so yeah, no, it's seriously one cut on the top. The rest of it.
No. And you can get it. It's short enough. You can get it into
the gates are only 30 inches wide, and basically it's a 4x8 with one cut and one cut.
Yeah. No, that should be fine.
And the thing is, my dad is retiring on the end of May. So him buying a bandsaw is just
no, that's crazy. No, I let students that know how to use it or are involved use equipment every once in a while. That's no problem.
He has $1 million liability policy, so we don't have to worry.
Well, Rodney or I have to be there with you and your dad, which is no problem. But so we'll arrange the time, but you just have to clear it with Rodney. Or you want me to do that? Actually, why don't I do it?
Yeah.
I'll call him and then I'll call you back and tell you when we can, if it's ready. If it's ready, then we can schedule any time.
Yeah, so my dad's bringing the other gate over to my house tomorrow.
Yeah.
And so but the thing is like with this lumber I ordered this week, which turned out great. Yeah. It's still like a 3-week waiting period for the lumber for vertical grain Doug fir.
Yeah.
Because he needs a 4x8 and I think it's 6 foot minimum length for ordering.
So you have the wood?
We don't have the wood yet.
Oh, okay.
So he went and he did a bid today, I think.
So you'll have the wood probably in a week?
Best case scenario, but
it doesn't matter because I'll be the one who goes over there most likely, and anytime's fine. Okay. So I'll call him. Well, I'll call him tomorrow then if you've got a little bit of time, because he's usually asleep by now. I don't want to wake him up. But I'll call him and he'll say, "Oh yeah, fine," and I'll say, "Well, what shape's it in? Is it set up? Has it been serviced recently?" "Oh yeah, it's ready to go," and then we'll be good.
Well, he adjusted it for one of the classes. He adjusted the top.
Oh, that was one of his.
But we couldn't find an Allen wrench that would fit to adjust the bottom ones. But I bought a brand new set just for that. So.
Well, that's right. You've got his class. You're part of that whole. Shenanigan. Okay, great.
But that would be awesome because my dad's so close to retiring. It's
Yeah. No. So Okay, so I'll call him. Let me write that down too, because given the state of my senility, I'll forget. So call.
And I figure in exchange, we'll work out some nice epoxy for you as long as you
Okay,
paint it
yeah,
yourself.
we'll work that out.
Yeah.
Now, okay, bandsaw. Where did we end up? Did Ken say he would come over or he'd send a guy over to look at it?
So Kenny said he'll send over. It's probably Brian, which is a guy I hate.
Yeah.
But he's the head of their stuff. He'll come over and just look at it for free. He's more than happy to do it.
Okay, so why don't you find out what his times are, and or should I just call there and who's the guy's name?
I'll set up the whole thing for you, and he'll come by and say what we need to do, what's reasonable.
Yeah, well, I just want to know the date so I can, in case I have a medical appointment or something, I don't.
Yeah, no, I'll talk. I think pretty much every day is open though.
Okay, cool, great. All right, sounds good.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, I mean, we may not be able to do it for a while until this rain's out of our hair, but he can at least look at it and give me some advice.
Yeah.
My wife will be so glad. We love that. I mean, it doesn't really detract from the deck, but eventually it might rot stuff, but we love that deck. It's really cool.
Yeah, no, it's a great product. I framed quite a few decks and they did that stuff on, and it looks great.
Yeah. All right.
Well, I really appreciate that, Patrick.
Yeah. Oh, no sweat. Yeah, I'm happy to do that.
When you're 70 and finishing out your carpentry career, it's a
the guy they interviewed me at school, the channels interviewed me. Those are people who may call you, may or may not. I said, well, he may not say all good stuff. I said he's a pretty honest guy. So, but they asked me how it was going, and I didn't bitch and moan too much. I just said what the realities were about the COVID and about the financial situation. But maybe if they write something,
my only negative thing is that we don't go into more detail. But the problem is we're more advanced than the basic student already.
Yeah, I know.
It's not a fixable problem.
Well,
unless we get a bigger budget and get more introductory classes, it's impossible.
Yeah, and then we can't fill them. That's the problem. He was asking me if we could do with a bigger budget, and I said, well, it's kind of a funny thing because we would love to have more sections for each class, but we probably couldn't fill them given the number of people in Santa Barbara that are looking for that. So, but I said there's ways we could improve with money, and for instance, the COVID's, we just have to write it off. It is what it is. But say we were doing that roof thing in person, which hopefully we will this summer, I could have the beginners leave if they wanted to at a certain time and then go into more refined things for, the more advanced students. We could certainly do that.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't mind staying at all for that kind of thing. So that would be one way we could possibly do it. So we could test that out this summer, huh?
I went up this weekend. One of Kendra's co-workers, she has some sort of autoimmune disease, and I went up and replaced her toilet this weekend. I was talking to James. Well, you guys call him Jim sometimes too. I'm so confused about that.
I call him Jim all the time, but he goes by James too.
And
carpenters are like that. I go by Patrick, but every carpenter calls me Pat because they love little short names,
But I was talking to him, and some people wish the classes were more in depth, and some people wish they were more streamlined. And
yeah,
I mean,
I think the state should just cut us slack and let us do that, even though we don't bring in the same money as the English class, because we're, especially now, we're really becoming necessary to train this workforce.
Yeah.
And we could probably get grants to do some of that, but we'd have to have a chair to write the grants.
Yeah.
So everything kind of hinges on all that. But we've always wanted to be able to do that, to have more introductory classes. And then, in fact, if you read the little blurb on each class, it says this assumes you've had this other class. We can't make it a requirement because we probably wouldn't fill the classes in, and then we'd be screwed in every direction.
Yeah.
And after a while, we were well, that's stupid to even say that, because we'll take any body that breathes if we need to fill the class. So yeah, but I mean, you can complain about that because it's not the best way it could be.
Well, my whole thing with taking this series of classes, before I met any of you teachers, of course, it was, I worked for cash for a long time in construction, and getting my license and stuff, it made it a little bit more complicated. And after 2018, they tightened the rules down a decent amount. I mean, it went from pretty much easy as long as someone writes it off to a little more, they upped the possibility by 5 or 10% of getting up your experience audited. But
Yeah.
now with those classes pushed off, I'm going to get another year in this program.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and it's just because of budget cuts and low enrollment. And, I would like to, I think I've told you before, one day I'd love to teach one of these classes or something, that's,
Yeah.
it's really great stuff.
Well, if you're interested in teaching, we may be able to figure something out. I got a guy from I haven't told the guys yet, from Ventura. Actually, he's from Thousand Oaks, but he's a pretty good guy. He's got a master's degree in engineering, and he's been a builder for 20 years. He's only 37, but he would make a good chair, I think.
Yeah.
So I told him, we'd interview him and then maybe have him teach a class and see. But we'd still need adjuncts, no matter. I mean, we're going to need them fast because, when you get old, it's like the curves. The curve goes, it's not gradual like when you're young. So Jim and Rodney and I are going to get older faster than you guys are getting older.
Well, aren't you all over 70?
I'm 74. Jim's 74. Jim's like 4 days younger than me. Rodney's 70. I think Rodney's a year younger. So, and we're all happen to be in okay shape, but still,
because
we can count the years that we're going to be useful. It's not like we could go on forever.
Because I would love to teach 110, 111, and maybe there's a mix of pick some random other classes I could teach.
Yeah, well, that would be great, and you could probably do that pretty good too. So we should start grooming you. You've probably been talking to those guys more than you have to me about that. But
and the thing is, like, every single YouTube video we've watched this grow, so there's not a single video you guys have showed I haven't seen already.
Oh, okay.
I've been calling the guys. I talk to all of them. I mean, this is my love. I mean, I came from software. I worked in construction, worked in software, and I love the technology of it,
Yeah. Yeah.
So I couldn't teach every class. I don't think I'd be a finished guy or something. I like doing finished stuff, but I buy Home Depot cabinets.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's the great thing about you taking these classes is you see how at least we teach them.
Yeah.
So that gives you, I mean, even if you want to change it and tweak it a bit, it still gives you a core to work from,
I think these classes, they're exceptionally better than I expected. And I don't mean that in a rude way, but I really thought it would be the most, and it's, I mean,
well, that's good to hear. I mean, we try, we've got experience and we try our best. We have our weaknesses and our gaps, but everybody's going to have that. But yeah, well, okay. Well, I'm glad you mentioned that because I didn't know you were even interested. Yeah, I mean, and you could start with a class or two, and you've got the other side of your life, and see how it goes. And you may want to go full bore this way. For all you know, you may like it, or you may want to just do a few classes a year and do other things in your life. It can work either way. Adjuncts. That's what the way adjuncts are. Some do very minimal. They just like to have a finger in the door, And I mean, you get addicted to it. It's when you get older, you don't have a lot of kids. When your kids leave home, you don't have their friends. You don't get a chance to hang out with younger people. So it's really fun when you're teaching these classes. It's like a whole bunch of kids of your kids around, you can talk to. So that's you'll find if you get into it, that's a really fun part too.
Yeah.
It's a chance to have a little community on the side. They're great kids, I love this class, a good class.
I mean, I don't know how it, because I enrolled in the beginning of 2020, I think. And it was Corona started 2 months in, 3 months in.
Yeah. I know.
And so I don't know what these classes
Yeah.
are like. Obviously they're more in depth and in person, and
Yeah.
you're actually doing this stuff to some
Yeah.
extent. But
Well, you'll see. I mean, I think the roof framing, I mean, we have to go with what the county's at, but I think they're really pushing this. I mean, Biden's 100 million in 100 days is too slow. I mean, all the health people and immunization people say, "Oh, that's bullshit," That'll take us a year to get everybody. So everybody's really like pushing it. And I think once we've got two things, the vaccine's got to come out, but I think the delivery system, Santa Barbara's got great. I had a friend go over to Samsung and she said, God, it was so organized, and we were there like 20 minutes. I went, wow. So of course this isn't LA, which is a lot harder to organize, but I think the shit's coming together. So I think it's going to all of a sudden take off. Give it a couple weeks. So I think by end of May, I think I have a sense we'll be in pretty good shape. We'll have to wait, but since they're letting Rodney and Jim do a few labs now, it couldn't be worse than that.
yeah.
And I'd like to see the whole thing lab. So, at school. So we'll see. But then we'll get some depth, and we'll push some roofs around,
Yeah.
I forgot to
Well,
take rolls.
things like roof framing stuff, and like you were explaining, well, you cut on the left side of the line if you have a worm drive skill side, and like things like that. Like, how do you show that over the internet?
Yeah.
It's impossible.
No, I know. I agree. I was hoping I'd never have to teach that class online. I mean, I was almost going to say, no, I won't do it. But I could say that because I could see the end of the pandemic. So just postpone it a bit. But this one's okay. All of them would be better in person. There's no doubt about it. But this and the math class, probably we can get away with it.
Yeah, no, definitely. I could see the math class too, because we didn't do anything.
Yeah. So those are okay. 124s, the worst are the beginning two gyms, and then Rodney's classes need in person. And then the roof framing and framing are good in person. And, so I'm trying to get out of here, but it, it's funny because when you retire, you've got all the other people that are retiring along with you. And it's funny, you all have the same stories. I'm busier than I've ever been, They go, hey, I thought I was retiring, All of a sudden everybody gets their claws in you. Oh, you're going, well, wait, first. God.
When do you think you'll actually go? You think?
My wife asked me that not because she wants me to retire. She wants me to keep working.
Yeah.
And I go, Noriko, one of these years I'll just have to. I mean, I'm able to write. In fact, probably my writing has gone better because I'm also teaching, and it's not, I have to sort of draw it out and change my mindset. I think that's probably helped me. I mean, it's really hard to write 8 hours a day. That's really hard. I don't know of anybody that does that. So, and I'm pretty much written out, a lot.
Well, I ordered your last book, and I read the first and last chapter, but
which one? Oh yeah.
It's sitting over
here. Yeah.
Can humans change?
Yeah. What do you think? Can we? Well,
I always said no, but I mean, people have certain interests in and tendencies to go certain ways. And like,
Yeah.
I've changed a lot
Yeah.
and massively.
Yeah.
But there's some people that just don't change at all, though.
Well, you know, the way the country's going is just right. You know, I keep writing because everything that's going on is so relevant. But you know, these Republicans, these people that followed Trump, you know, they're like cult people, and all cults are the same way. Often when cults end, cult people wake up and they go, "Oh God, that was a bad dream. You know, I'm glad I got away from it." But not always. We have these guys that followed Trump and all these militia and crazy QAnon and all these crazies. How are we going to change them? Because they're required. It's required to change them to have the future better. You know.
I have a next door neighbor that's like that, and he's a contractor here in Santa Barbara. And I was a foreman for him for, I don't know, a year and a half or 2 years. And I ran pretty much all of his projects, and then he started not paying me, you know, like a classic
Yeah.
Trump person. And this morning he hung up a Chinese flag on his flagpole instead of an American one.
You gotta love it, huh?
Yeah.
It could have been a Hungarian flag or you know, some Chinese, huh? Yeah.
Oh. I mean, people like that, they're not going to change.
No, I know.
He's 72. He's hired undocumented immigrants his whole life, but it says that Mexicans are really ruining our country.
Yeah.
I mean, he's one of
you know,
those.
I think a lot of those people will just have to die. The problem is they so condition their kids that it keeps it going. But if we can pry the kids away from people, get them in schools where they meet other, you know, religions, races, people, we have a chance. And those people will die eventually. But the schools really have to get better too. We have to really make sure they, you know, deal with every single kid and make sure they're thinking clearly.
Yeah, but still in construction, like, you know, there's a big, I mean, by the time I was a little kid till the time I stopped working as carpenter, my uncle, everyone on the crew, everyone said they hated Mexicans. They hated, you know, like, oh, they're stealing all our jobs. And that's still a thing nowadays too.
Yeah.
I mean, these roots I think will always be here, but more and more of that's going away. At least I hope.
Yeah. Well, you know, I'm fine with Mexicans. I'm fine with everybody coming to America, but we're going to get too crowded. And so there's another layer that we have to deal with on top of just not racism, but just too many people.
Yeah, overpopulation is one of the biggest issues with global warming. There's too many damn people.
It actually is the underlying issue. You know, same with pandemics. If the Chinese weren't developing right up next to where the bats live, we wouldn't have this shit. You know, we're getting too close, and the same with Africa, and then the things are just crossing over from animals to us. We should have a buffer. We shouldn't be crowding them in their own land. So yeah, I mean, all the, you know, the people that say it has no impact are just nuts. You know, they don't understand reality, the environmental reality at all. So, but you know, it's not happening. I mean, Biden's got a lot of the stuff he's been saying he's doing is pretty spectacular. He's doing environmental stuff. Schumer, I saw his thing. He says environmental is number one, and he just spouted out all this stuff he's doing. So, you know, they're hitting the ground running. I hope it's all true, because it sounds pretty good. But you know, what's funny is, you know, it's not Biden. We've all got to do this. You know, it's like everybody goes, I hope Biden could, you know, make this happen. Fuck, you know, we've all got to do this. It's not going to work unless we all do it, you know?
I mean, I'm getting further and further far left, like even like neo left, you might describe. And like, to me, Biden, is still kind of doing the status quo, but we've seen the alternative. We've seen Trump. We've seen what happens.
Yeah.
The status quo is much better than Trump.
No, and that status quo is going to go left. He can't do it right away. Give him a year or two, and then Ocasio-Cortez and Bernie and everybody's just gonna say, come on, this is what we gotta do. And I think he actually knows that. I think he knows that he had to start out as a centrist to get elected. And that, and so, but I predict that he's gonna need ideas, you know, I mean, he's getting old. He's not gonna have all the answers. And a lot of the idea people in Congress are far left, you know, progressive people. And, you know, it just pains me that, and everything I write is this way, that this stuff is not communist or far out. It's just making life easier for all of us. I mean, God, when are people going to see that? You know, supporting child care. Look at all the stuff that having to take care of your child prevents you from doing. God, I mean, you know, it's all of it's just directed at making life better for people. And it's, you know, they have to attach all these stupid names to it. And
Well, I mean, anything that's an unavoidable cost, healthcare, infrastructure, childcare, any of those, there's no reason not to socialize them because everyone generally has to pay them anyway.
yeah, yeah. Oh, I know. And I think, I mean, the world's slowly going that way. It gets setbacks all the time. Europe gets setbacks. Poor Europe, you know, they're trying so hard to keep it together and end wars forever there. And they get little hot spots all the time that are kind of a pain in the ass. But when you listen to their statesmen, like I listen to Fareed Zakaria every Sunday morning, and I don't care for Fareed that much. He's pretty centrist and not radical enough, but he has great people on his show. And he has this British guy, Miliband, who used to be in the British government, and he's doing charities now. He's so brilliant. And all the guys there, I mean, you hear them talk, and, you know, it's like everybody's going for it, going for a more progressive world. And so I think if we can stop getting side whacked by these whack jobs like Trump, I mean, we'll know enough now. We'll probably make all kinds of safety valves to not let that shit happen. We just got broadsided by someone who was he could broadside us because he knows nothing about government, so he did what he wanted and it didn't fit at all. We're going, fuck, what's he doing that for? Yeah.
Hopefully that's a learning experience. Because are you familiar with Hassan Abi? He used to be on the Young Turks. He's now disassociating with them, but he's a neoliberal, and he streams on Twitch and he's on some TV shows occasionally.
Yeah.
And he was so anti everyone that was left because they're not left enough this and not left of that. And then, you know, these people have this attitude in which he's right that they're not, you know, but then we get Trump. You know, I would never vote for Hillary. Well, we got Trump.
Yeah. I mean, you know, there's different perspectives. If you're one of the people that died from COVID unnecessarily, or got your business ruined unnecessarily, or couldn't get into the country fleeing, you know, drug dealers, that's too bad. I feel bad about that. But from another perspective, it's probably a great thing that we had him because it just woke all of us up to all this shit. I mean, we had no idea because we don't pay attention to it. We're so lulled to sleep. We just say, government, take care of everything. See you later. We got to go fishing. Now, government's been so corrupt that now we're forced to look at it, and we look at racism. And I think we're looking at things a lot more than we ever used to. So in that way, it's a blessing. You know, that's the silver lining. And you can't say it's better because all those people suffered and died. So it's both. It's really a tragedy, and hopefully it woke us up and we'll have a better world for the rest of us.
In 2016, I didn't vote for president. And it was one of the stupidest things I've ever done. It may be one of the stupidest things I've ever done in my whole life. And because I really hated the Clintons, I was a fool.
Yeah.
You know, and
I wanted Bernie. I didn't like the Clintons at all. And I didn't think Biden had enough substance. And people like Bernie. And I thought, okay, let's get a really good progressive in there. Now I think looking back, Bernie probably might not have won. You know,
there's no way he wouldn't have even done as well as Hillary would have.
Yeah.
There's no way.
And I think Biden, by just the weirdest circumstance, Biden and Harris were the right candidates.
Yeah.
And they weren't my favorites of the group, either of them. But I think actually that's what made it win. And I think they're malleable enough and smart enough that they'll start going left, and we'll have what we want. So it took me the whole time to see it that way, because in the beginning I thought, oh my God, you know, Biden is so old school. I just thought, oh fuck, we have so many problems. What's he gonna do? You know. But the one thing he does, he listens to people, and he wants to be right, and he wants to be loved by Americans. So he'll do good things, you know.
Well, it's not like I was a Bernie person all along. When Bernie didn't get it, I was just like, no.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
It's not a battle, it's a war.
Yeah, yeah.
A war against fascism, it's a war
Yeah.
against racism. And, you know, we may not win, but we don't want to lose either. You know,
Right.
we have to keep our progress.
Yeah.
And it's,
Boy, everybody found out a lot. Everybody knows what fascism is. People are starting to understand what democracy is. It actually takes your involvement, people.
yeah.
So, yeah, you know, so, yeah, we'll see. I want to do local direct democracy. You know, I was looking at a documentary the other night on Hannah Arendt. Have you heard of her? She was a Jewish intellectual from New York and Germany. She was a Holocaust survivor. She didn't get into the things, but she escaped from Germany. And she had been a lover of Martin Heidegger, the philosopher.
Yeah.
And so she had an existential background. You know, she's a doctor. She taught in New York, and her husband taught at Bard. And she was the one who, the New York Times, I think, or New Yorker, I forget, asked her to go to Israel and cover the Adolf Eichmann trial. You know, they caught Eichmann years later in Argentina and brought him back for trial. And she said, sure. And then she wrote a thing about the banality of evil. You know, that was her idea. And she looked at Eichmann on trial, and she said, you know, this guy's not evil at all. He's just a nothing. He can't think. He's just a yes man. He's a bureaucrat. And she said that it's not evil in the way of someone who's really anti-Semitic and foaming at the mouth. This guy was just doing his job. It's all he knew how to do. And I think she was right, although it's been controversial. But she did introduce the idea that evil is not just nasty people. It can be just people that don't think at all. And that's obviously true, you know? And so anyway, what was I going to say about her? Oh, yeah. Oh, shit. What was I going to say? Oh, yeah. She was for direct democracy.
Yeah.
And I don't know much. I just mentioned it in the movie somewhere. And I don't know how she thought it might work, but you know, most people see the value of it. They just don't know how it could work with the population. But I swear that the plans I've done in my book, they're not perfect, but they give you an idea that maybe we could do it. And I think to have local government where we see everyone, we know everyone, we don't have these shadow regimes or shadow lobbyists or, you know, military industrial complex running things.
Well,
we could see where things go wrong. I think it'd be great. And then we'd all get involved. We could have a really beautiful local area.
And we have super PACs and all these crazy things that work in. I mean, what's the system they use in a bunch of European countries where it's next? I'm calling it next choice. So basically, your vote goes to your first choice. If they don't get it, goes to your second choice and your third choice, and so on.
Right.
That to me makes a ton of sense.
Right. Yeah. Well, they have the parliament systems are like that, and they're better than ours. They have their problems. They're not perfect. I would like to see us go to a parliament, and then eventually, and my book, is it this one? Yeah, this one you got.
Yeah.
I actually spell out a step-by-step plan as good as I can see. You know, nobody can see the future, how we can get to those and what the problems would be. And the more people, and then I'm hoping some other guy that knows more about economics or government will take it and go, well, that will work, but that would work. Let's see what would happen, and just keep pushing that envelope until pretty soon everybody wants to do that. That's how this works.
Yeah.
So I won't be around when it happens, unfortunately, but I would love to see a place, and Santa Barbara is a great place to start it. You know, it's a self-contained. Oh, it could be so interesting. You know, I wish I had another 50 years to live rather than whatever, just to see how interesting we could make this place. You know. So I don't know. I mean, I think we can do it. Our best minds and hearts are really pretty good human beings, and if they can persuade the rest, who are mostly ignorant, then there's the ones on the bottom that are ignorant and crazy and mean. But it's a matter of getting the ignorant ones online, you know. But God, after this pandemic, people have got to just want to have their friends and be sociable and, you know, live simply. I mean, God, what do we need to tell us? We could do that. We could do that. This guy, what's the Schumer? I don't know if you saw his interview, but his plan, he's got a plan for combustion engines. He wants to get them off the road completely by some ridiculous thing like 2030 or 2040. And he wants to start, I forget, he's got steps.
It's like
But it's like a really,
2035 or something.
it's like a really radical plan. I'm going, Jesus. And you know what he wants to do is make the all electric cars more affordable.
Yeah.
He wants to make them in America so we get to jump on it. I mean, and he wants the unions involved. He says GM and Ford already want to do that. They're on board. The unions are on board. All we need is the people and the rest of the politicians. But what a great idea, you know?
Yeah.
We could have a little Volkswagen, you know, the people's car for poor people or people like me who just don't want to spend a lot of money.
Yeah.
Make a little Beetle or it'd be up to date, you know. You know, I mean, God, the sky's the limit. I think it'd really be fun. But I was surprised he had such a concrete, short plan. You know, I went, wow, good for you, Chuck. Fuck.
Well, you know, I was talking to Carol a bunch about how bad some of the mining is for the lithium and stuff, though. It's kind of I mean, they're going to have to figure out some new technologies. I applaud what they're doing, but we got to do it differently.
You know, this is how it goes. We use the technology we know and the extraction we know, you know, the resources we know. And then we maximize that, which is what we're doing. And then we realize, well, in the very event of maximizing it, we're not going to have a lot left for the future. And then we start looking broader. And I think they're starting now. And the storage things like the internet, like the what do you call it? The grid was a fucking great idea. We had that grid already there. And so we could just feed the solar into it and exchange it for a nighttime grid. That was and it was a win-win. That was such a beautiful thing. And it was perfect for that transition. Now it's not going to work because we're going to get rid of all the, what powers the grid. So now we go to batteries, which was what we've known. But I think there's going to be something beyond both of those that we come up with. That's simple and.
You know, at the very beginning of the 405, where the 405 ends, and it's the 5 going up past LA.
Yeah.
They have that lake there, and that's the biggest battery in the West.
Yes.
And West.
I think that's the idea, is something that is a metaphorical battery. Yeah. I think that's what we're going to do. That's going to be it. And that's one way. We're doing that now. That's good. Even those things that they pumped up the water into the tower.
Yeah.
When the electricity was cheap, and then when it was expensive, they let it down and it made power. You know, those would actually still work, but it's that kind of thing where you're not really using any more resources. You're just kind of working with what you got. Yeah, that's me, because I know we're running out of stuff, but I think that goes in stages like that. And you know, the car battery is pretty funky. We got that. That's a pretty elementary battery. You know, and then the solar batteries came on, you know.
I remember years ago, I went to this conference. I was working in software. It's probably almost 8 or 9 years ago now, maybe even 10. And they were talking about these different technologies. And one of the most efficient one was pushing train cars up.
Yeah.
Because you have a track, it's actually, they said, is more efficient than pumping water.
Huh.
but the maintenance costs of them and stuff, it was really interesting. They had all these ideas and basically train cars of rocks, and you could combine it with the current mine and use the tailings of the mine to push up. And they had all these ideas, but there's such a big investment. You know, it's tens of millions of dollars to build a train line up a mountain. Tailings of a mine.
Yeah. But, you know, once someone does that and it's on the record, that helps the next generation think of something similar but better.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of these experiments they turn out to be kind of foolish and not worth it, but they were outside the box. So when people look at them, they go, oh, interesting, but you know, and then they move on. So yeah, it's pretty amazing. I mean, I'm really old school and conservative with materials, and I think passive solar, where people, you know, we figure all these things how not to let the hot air out, but if people would just physically shut their window curtain and had, you know, baffles on it that kept it, or had however we could keep it so it was airtight, and there were a lot of solutions in the old days, that would actually do it. You don't need any of this stuff, but people are so lazy, they went beyond that. They said, well, we don't want to have to do that every night. But I think it'd be better to retrain people to use their bodies more, which we could use that too, and then just not think of all the millions of ways otherwise to do it, because it's like a real thorny issue, and the ways we've come up with have been, you know, high tech and crazy. I think, you know.
I've been working. We went and refinanced the house. We were originally going to do an ADU, but I have worries about not having a garage and stuff, and having to rent an office and a shop or something. This financially, it's more feasible to kind of keep the house as is.
Yeah.
But for the garage, my camera's there. What I want to do is have two roofs, and I want to have a series of windows, and it's going to have a big enough overhang that I get solar gain 3.5 months out of the year. So I started drawing up the plans a couple of weeks ago. I'll send you over the 3D render. And basically, because of the direction I face south, our house, and I could get enough solar gain in the warmest months of the year to actually get some warmth in the house when it's not cloudy, of course.
Yeah.
And there's things like that I could do, and it would cost some money. You got two huge beams and stuff, but you know, a couple of LVLs, you know, you're looking under $1,000, and you could make a big difference in a beautiful looking house. That with the fascia on the top, you'd only get light, but you'd still get ambient light in the summer and stuff. It's so nice.
Yeah. It's all there to use, you know. Yeah, no, that'd be great. Yeah, you should do that.
And without taking these classes, you know, like I learned a little bit from the family. Like my family, we have, I think, 16 general contractors, and you know, most of them are very far right, and there's a couple like my uncle here in Santa Barbara that are a little more reasonable. But I mean, they thought of like solar gain as a joke, like something that's not worth doing, and there's a lot you could do.
Yeah. Well, you know, especially this climate, it's perfect for this, because it'll be cold out like these last few days, because we've had this weather front. It's been really cold outside, but the sun just comes right. You get in the sun and it's fucking pleasant.
Yeah.
You know, you're in the shade, it's like starts getting cold, but when you're in that sun, even outside you're in that sun, it's just perfect. I mean, it's just stupid not to use that. And it's free, you know. So we'll see. I mean, we got a long way to go. You know, eventually we'll figure out population of the problem, and we'll figure out friendly ways to reduce that population, and you know. Well, I'm writing about it all I can. Shit. I've got a book I'm writing. It's on truth as our greatest discovery, human discovery.
Yeah.
And originally it was just language and the ability to use language, you know, to have true statements, but then we discovered falsity and how to make our language, you know, make ideas false. So now truth becomes more important even than language was originally, because we've got to counter that, the bullshit. So it's on history, the truth in history, and science and social planning. So
One thing I kind of struggle with is niceties are, when we say things in a positive and nice way, are kind of an important part of how our society works. And it's not sometimes that you're dishonest, but having some sort of positive attitude sometimes kind of makes it.
Yeah.
So, and
but
go ahead.
Science needs to be, all those things history needs to be talked about. It's mainly an entertaining thing right now, but it really is the truth of the past, and we kind of need to use it in a lot of ways. We need to learn from it. That's the most important thing. And so we've got to make history more important and more real and more correct. And then science, we've got a lot to do there. And science even in itself is not in the best place. Scientists never want to admit it, but scientists are always so arrogant, but they've got some problems, and it's never pure. As soon as you add it to politics and industry, then you get scientists that are bought out, and then you've got that whole downside. So, but someone has to make, and I think there's been some books written lately, has to draw all that out and show, that, yeah, it can be improved. This is how we do it, but it doesn't take away from its truth or its usefulness. So I'm just trying to get on the truth bandwagon, which is becoming more talked about, but it's still not very deep. It's like the blacks. I look at the blacks and I love that the blacks are coming on. I love that there's so many on TV now. It's like they've just put them in every position, and they're smart and they're beautiful, and I love watching it. But they're just fucking Baptists, And I'm going, at some point, you're going to have to get over the religion hump too, That's truth too. Take your time, because now you just want to have equal rights. I understand. But God, and then the government, separation of church and state, right? What is that? Second Amendment? What amendment is that? First Amendment?
Fifth?
I don't know, one of them. But they give prayers all the time. They're giving Christian prayers all the time. I'm going, wait a second. I'm an atheist. I don't want to sit here and listen to that fucking Christian prayer. And I don't want my kids to be bent by that. And what about all the Muslims and Buddhists and Hindus that live in this fucking country? Come on. So, there's layers we have to go yet.
I mean, looking at that's one of the things with Biden. If you look at, what's her name, Ilhan Omar, the far out Muslim senator.
Yeah.
Ilhan Omar and AOC and all of them are pushing for actual change, and still, Biden, you go to church before inauguration because that's what the cool kids do, and they're swearing in on Bibles. It's like literally almost 200 years ago, they said there needs to be separation.
Yeah, they're violating that amendment every time they do that, and they just refuse to see it. So you know how we're white supremacists? We're also Christian supremacists, Yeah. The Christians do still rule this country. It's a broad band. You have the crazies on the right, far right, but even the middle is so middle Christian, And I don't mind people being Christian at all, but that's not my religion, and I'm a member of this society, and I don't want to. So anyway, there's depths. At least we're making the first steps, which is more than we've done in a long time.
I mean, I really think overall the world is improving.
Yeah.
And I know sometimes it seems worse, but there's more transparency. We see more of what's going on. We see, and it really seems to me that things are getting better to some extent. I think as they get better, some far out groups get worse, but I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's getting better too, and I think we're getting smarter as a species. The whole environmental bioregional thing, we've really started waking up to ecology, And race, I think this did it, this last group of tragedies is just, going to push us over. I think it's great. But I want to go further. I want us to go all the way.
But that's the balance. We can only move so far at once as a nation. Parts can separate, and obviously there are times that we've had kind of stalemate and not moved at all, and there has to be some balance between a stalemate and one just section moving. But we are moving, but it's always going to be slow.
Yeah.
And acting as neoliberals, or whatever you call it, it generally doesn't get that far. In fact, sometimes it seems to go backwards, and that's
Yeah. Well, the climate's really given us some timetables that we've never had, at least those of us who believe it. And that's kind of I like that because I'm impatient. I would rather see I don't have much time, but I'd rather see the world just be a nicer place for everybody right away, because we have our life. If it takes all of our current life, then we're gone. We didn't get that life,
Yeah.
It'd be nice for all of us to participate in that before it's too long. But you're right, it does take time. I'm impatient.
The thing is, if we just say it takes time, then nothing happens too.
That's right. That's right. Well, we should say it takes time, but we're going to push it on with every nerve of our body,
Yeah.
That's actually the right way to look at it. We know as scientists of observing society, we know that no matter how radical and crazy everyone is, it does take time.
Yeah.
On the other hand, that's an excuse for taking too long. You're right.
It's incredible to me. Like if I read something out of Fine Home Building to my dad, he would believe it. But if I told him a scientist said there's global warming, I'd be like, no, absolutely not. And it's something that I don't see the way of overcoming. You know what? People enjoy being ignorant.
Yeah.
And they're even proud of it.
Yeah. Well, we keep reading that book. I try to go into that. It's a deep thing. I think the psychologists need to weigh in a lot more than they have been.
Well, do you know what bothers me is I've been part of that. I've been that person, and that's why I grew up with it. There's any excuse at all. And I still find myself thinking those ways, and I have to be like, I have to stop myself.
Yeah. No, it's great.
And it's not an overnight thing.
Yeah. See, I come from a liberal background, but then I have the whole avoidance that liberals go through, white supremacy. I'm a white supremacist too. I haven't even noticed. I knew there were poor people, and I knew blacks had issues, but I just sort of believed the government, we're progressing, civil rights is progressing, and left it at that because I had a lot of other interests. And so liberals have that thing to get over, even though they're coming from a closer place. It's a stronger, it's as strong inertia,
Oh crap, we're still recording.
Well, good. That's fucking great. Oh man, that means anybody who looks at this recording will look at the last hour of us.
I only look because I was gonna say, and maybe they hear. I've had times. There's this guy that turned off quick.
I don't know how to. Should I turn it off?
Yeah, you should.
I don't know. Bye, everybody.